You're watching the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent and Austen Show.
You are looking at recorded video, not live, of the Jacksonville Jaguars in the final day of mandatory minicamp. There's Mason Smith, a big human being, amongst other large human beings. And there's Tyson Campbell, who looks healthy at the moment. We'll see if that can continue on into the season, which would be important for these Jacksonville Jaguars. I am Kasey Kuhrts. Jason Hamby has left me. The 3-day summertime spectacular of me and Jason is now over. Jason left to go coach baseball. His team played 2 games without him. I believe they went 1-1. So, do they need him? That's a different conversation for a different day. But he is gone. And I am lucky enough to be joined by Marcel Robinson. How about it, Marcel? What's going on?
Everything's good. I'm really questioning Hamby's commitment to the brand. He should have been here. The kids can wait. I'm not gonna lie. I got to tell you right now. I actually had a haircut appointment to go to this morning, and I actually rescheduled my appointment. And one thing I can say, and we're gonna get this thing started off on a very fiery note. Okay. Is the one thing that black men don't play about is their haircuts. Okay. So I moved my haircut around for you, bro. That's what I got for you. That's love. I
appreciate it. I appreciate it greatly. Yesterday, after the show ended that me and Hamby did, I was like, I got an email from Brent, and Brent was like, hey, man, you got to hold it down for the majority of the show. Like, Austen will be on at 12. And I was like, okay, I'm quitting. And that's kind of where I was when I ran into Marcel. And Marcel was like, you know what? I'm going to
Yeah.
And Marcel kind of talked me off the ledge, which was great.
I got you, bro.
And then showed up this morning, which I greatly appreciate. Brent will, after I threatened him, he will be along later. Nick Murrow will be in. So there's a lot of stuff to do. Austen will join us as well at some point. But as mentioned at the top, just a few moments ago, the Jacksonville Jaguars have concluded their off-season work. You were out there every single day. We were getting updates from you and Liv and Stuart and everyone who was out there. Not Brent, because, again, confirmed, decided to go on vacation the one time the Jags were going to practice.
I'm telling you.
So we'll get into that when we talk to Brent a little bit later on. But 3 days of good work for the Jags. How would you assess it overall since you were out there?
They look how they're supposed to look for the most part. These things are these off-season activities. It's really kind of one of those things where it's like you got to temper your expectations, what you're expecting to see. Football is played in football pads. They're not wearing football pads, sure. So it's kind of one of those, like, you just want to see them look competent. You want to see that they're executing what they are implementing and things like that. And I think for me, I just wanted to kind of see the competition. Everyone's been talking about the new energy, the new intensity, and how the players feel like everything is different, and how they work. And, I feel like we saw a lot of that, kind of some back and forth, between the 3 days between the offense and defense. I loved that the last day it was getting a little fiery, a little competitive. It's hot as hell out there. So if you're out there, competing on the football field, that's what you want to see. So, but, I think for the most part, we saw a football team that looks like they know what they're doing at this point in time, which is, I think, is probably the one thing that the box you can check that you wanted to check.
Sure, absolutely. And I'm not gonna lie here. Marcel, have screwed up your whole day. All right, I'm gonna react to what you just said. I've screwed up your whole day.
That's okay,
and I appreciate you greatly because I had no one told me that Austen Lane was joining us in the morning time.
Oh.
So I want you here, Marcel, right? I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you showed up for me.
Yep.
Austen, bro, nobody told me, man. I ruined Marcel's whole day for this.
Unbelievable.
So, listen, man. I don't want to, I'll take the blame, I guess. Brent texted me last night at around 9:30, almost 10 o'clock, and said, what's your schedule for, Friday? And I told him, okay, I can be on the show 30 minutes, the first 30 minutes, and then the last 45 minutes, as is tradition on Fridays when I'm training down here in South Florida. So I thought that message would have got back to you, Kasey. Apparently it didn't. I feel horrible because I can relate to, Marcel Robinson in terms of when you have that haircut appointment, when you, and for me, it's so different because I don't get my hair cut. I get it twisted. But obviously I have that person who I'm faithful towards, right? Where if you do that person a disservice, it's almost like having an affair. It's almost like cheating in a way. So I apologize to Marcel Robinson for the miscommunication. I'm just saying what I heard, Kasey. I thought Brent was going to be on today, so that's my bad.
I think this one's might be on me. I think I'm going to have to just kind of take this and deal with it. But yeah, I screwed this one up. My bad, Marcel.
It's all good. We here.
Good.
I'm telling you, just like
Kasey, are you capable of like cutting his hair or not?
No.
No.
At 35 years old, I have only had 3 barbers in my entire lifetime. And the main reason I'm at my current barber is because my previous barber of about 20 years unfortunately passed away. And so I've been going to the same shop now for it's been like 5 years or so, but I'm loyal to a fault. So I'd probably cut his fingers off if he pulled some clippers.
Okay, yeah, well, won't do that then. Definitely will not take that approach to the day. But
Marcel, that's a great question. Like, do you think there's anything more loyal than being? I mean, like obviously, like a wife or a significant other, but like in terms of like people that have jobs, people like that you go to their work. Is there anything more loyal than going to that barber? Because like once you find your barber, that's it.
That's it.
Like you can go to a fast food restaurant and find a nice person, but like you're not going to go back. I need to carry weight on me. Like, it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of like any other jobs where it's like the loyalty is that important.
Nope. None on the planet. None on the planet. Because if your normal barber, he has a certain style. He cuts your hair. He knows like the way your head is shaped and all of that stuff. So if you go somewhere else and you come back, they know instantly. As soon as you sit in the chair, who touched your head?
So what I'm hearing here is I should not be going to Sports Clips and any person that's available. Like when I check in online,
Kasey,
I just hit first available.
Find that one.
Come on, man.
I just be going to. It's easy. I just roll into Sports Clips. It's always goofy. Like my head is my hair's always screwed up. Like so, I just give up on it. But like, yeah, I just, first available. I'll take you.
No.
And then usually it's somebody that doesn't speak English, and they're like, "How do you want your hair cut?" I'm like, "I just do it. Just mess it up."
Thankfully, I don't have to worry about this. But if I look to make an appointment at the shop and he's like booked out for like a week and a half for whatever reason, I'm waiting a week and a half, and y'all gonna see a lot of hats.
So I made you wait another week and a half now is what I'm hearing?
Nah, I got till 3. Nah, we good at 3 o'clock. We made a pivot.
Oh, okay.
We made a pivot.
I feel better.
Shout out to my guy Kwame at the Fine Grooming Studio over there at in Deerwood Plaza off Southside Boulevard.
There we go. All right. I'm glad we're all good. I think Marcel's still good.
We're good. We're good.
We'll check on that as we go along. Austen, Marcel just said it though. He was at Jaguars camp. Not a whole lot you can learn, right, in a off-season period. Marcel said it, I think the best football's played in pads, and there was no pads on out there. You're somebody who's obviously been in that position and played football in that capacity and off-season stuff. I know you're from afar, but do you think you learned anything about these Jags from just some off-season work?
I mean, nothing that's really going to like, I didn't see that coming. Like, it's a surprise. Travis Hunter can play offense and defense. Well, I think we all expect that, right? Maybe a little, and this is more of a soundbite, not necessarily something I saw at practice or in videos, but the whole Anton Harrison thing of how Liam Cohen kind of felt about him. Not like he threw him underneath the bus or anything, but it seems to me like there's expectations for Anton Harrison to play a little better. So maybe that was a little bit of a surprise, and I don't know. I don't know if you guys feel this way or not, but if you look at from like a bigger lens around 32 football teams around the National Football League, I feel like every media person like has like championed their rookie to be like an all-pro and to be like a Hall of Famer. Like Ted McMillan had a really great, like
except the Bengals
wants to do this. Except the Bengals. Yeah, they actually sent Stewart home, I saw, by the way, which is crazy.
It's tough.
But like this is the world that we live in now, right? Where if you see a 5-second clip, we want to over embellish it. We want to king that dude right now, or we want to say that guy is horrible based off of one drop. It's just the world that we live in.
Yeah, and to the Anton Harrison point, me and Hamby talked about it a little bit yesterday. Austen, we were a day ahead, if you remember, because we said, I said to you, who are you more confident to play at a high level? Which tackle? And then Liam Cohen says, well, when Anton wants to go, he'll go. And Marcel, we talked about it a lot yesterday. You were out there, but when you heard the head coach say that, did you immediately go, oh, that's probably not a great thing that you want to hear, or was it just like, and then you moved on?
I mean, it was certainly telling. I mean, obviously, it was certainly eyebrow raising, but I don't have a problem with it, man. I think part of that is telling a little bit of the truth, and I think a part of that is kind of, a coach trying to light a fire under his guy to go compete, man. I think, nobody has a free pass other than obviously the quarterback and the bigger money guys here, but, if you're on this team, this is a new regime. What you did in the past, yeah, you might have some stuff under your belt and whatever like that, but like none of that matters. Like, go compete. So I think that obviously we're no strangers to seeing coaches kind of give messages to their team through the media type deal, being kind of calculated, and I don't have a problem with it. But if I'm Anton and I hear that, you hope that he takes that as kind of like, I'm not solidified here. I've been solidified here in this role, but I got to go compete, for my job, and whatever happens, happens.
Austen, is it something or nothing that's really the only guy that you heard Liam Cohen kind of, and I wouldn't even call it I guess it's criticism, but like that's really the only person that didn't get a super glowing response, I guess, from the head coach. Is that something or nothing?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's not nothing, because I truly feel like it does mean something, Kasey, but at the same time, I feel like it's justified. If we look at Anton Harrison's rookie year of how he performed and how he did, like, we're all excited to think, okay, we got a future Pro Bowl here. If they start winning games, this could be an all-pro one day. And then going into his second year, he had all the hype, and to call a spade, he actually regressed a little bit. Now, maybe some of that is play calling, some of that is, coaching, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, his rookie year was more superior than his second year. So then if I'm the head coach in Liam Cohen and I see that coming in, well, yeah, that's got to be fixed, right? Because I say this all the time, and it's one of the most cliche things in the entire National Football League. You make your most progress from year one to year two. So it is a little concerning when you go from your rookie year to your second year and you actually regress a little bit.
Yeah, and when we brought it up yesterday, me and Hamby spent a lot of time on it. It's so wild, and I think there's a couple players on this team that are like this, but we're talking about it, and we'd have one chat that would be like, this is Anton's last year in Jacksonville. And me and Hamby would be like, I mean, I could see a scenario where that happens. And then there's the immediate next chat is Anton, is going to play well and sign a long-term extension at the end of the year. And I'm like, I could see a scenario where that happens. So, like, it's interesting how many people I think in Jacksonville have that complete, total opposite sides of the situation that I think is true. I think Anton Harrison is one. I think we've already kind of assumed how this ends for Travis Etienne. But if Travis Etienne for some reason goes out there and runs for 2,000 yards, I think you have a hard time getting rid of that guy, right? Walker Little we talked about, although the Jaguars paid him, this regime didn't pay him. And they've showed you this offseason they're not afraid to have dead money and eat a bunch of money if they have to. Foye Oluokun's a guy who I don't think they can really live without at this point. But again, if you bring that conversation up in the chat, like, people will be like, this is probably it for Foye, or they need him around. I think it's an interesting dynamic that this team has. And to that, I go back to what I said a couple of times this week, is I just wonder where this team is at in terms of trying to win now and trying to figure out what you got. Because I think the balance of that is tough with this team, being also the fact that you're the Jaguars, who more times than not is bad. You're obviously trying to win. But also, Liam Cohen needs to figure out about a lot of these guys, Marcel, that he may not know the full answer on, but also you still got to try to win football games here.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously it's a delicate balance, but I mean, you can do both. You find out, you're figuring out your team, which is basically you figuring out which team gives you the best chance to win football games. So I think there's obviously a little bit of a balance there, but I'm a guy, like, I don't have a problem with them. I kind of like the fact that they're coming in here with, everybody's got a, for lack of a better term, clean slate. I mean, what football is a what have you done for me lately kind of game, but I mean, this is a regime they're coming in here like they really don't give a damn about what you did lately. It's what are you doing for me now? I mean, we saw that obviously with, a guy like Evan Ingram, who everyone is still kind of like, can't believe they let that guy go. Like, he's, productive. Like, he's had, back-to-back great years. Still kind of scratching their heads. I know Austin's probably throwing a chair through a window right now about it still. But I mean, like you just said, Kasey, they've shown that they're not afraid to make those big risks if it means, getting to success. If that means cutting a guy who, is a fan favorite or whatever, has been serviceable. Like, they're not looking for just serviceable players right now. They're looking for guys that can come out here and, put belt to ass and win, right? So I think that, I don't think we're done. But at the same time, I think that you're right when you said they're not afraid to make these big moves, which is something that obviously we like. But I think also it kind of gives you a little bit more of a competitive fire that may be lit under some of those guys who might have thought they were safe. Like and Austen can speak on this. The worst type of player that's on the field is a guy that thinks that there's no accountability. It's like I'm safe. Whatever I do doesn't matter. They ain't gonna get rid of me. And I think going into these camp practices, they're coming in like, hey, look, every rep matters. That's why you see a guy like, obviously BTJ is safe, but I think it was telling that he gets knocked around in the second mini camp, and maybe in years past they take him over there to get checked out or whatever like that, and he doesn't come back. We don't see him until July or whatever. But I think, obviously him coming back out, even if he's not getting back in, just standing over there, kind of being with his guys, messing with his shoulder and whatnot. That's an identity on this team. Every rep matters, being around, and I think that's not something that you can just, turn your nose up about, I guess.
For sure. Austen, did you have guys like that in training camp and off-season activity where and you seem to have a story for everything, so I don't want to put you on the spot and have a story here. But, is that real?
No, it's, it's crazy because I think the more that you're vested and the longer that you play in this league, and I go back, I posted before with Ernest Byron. It was literally our last game of the season. We knew all the coaches were going to be fired. And, this is under the Mike Mularkey era. So we won 2 games that year. And he got up in front of the team and basically said, we're all probably going to be gone, but I want you guys to take this with you. He said, never get comfortable. Never get complacent. Ever be comfortable with what you're doing. Because as soon as you start being comfortable, that's when you lose your edge. That's when your ass gets traded or gets cut. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I always kind of stuck in my head because, I'll be honest, Kasey, even going into my 4th year here in Jacksonville, going into a contract year, and Mularkey gets fired, Gus Bradley comes in, I was still feeling myself, right? Like I started pretty much the entire last season. I'm feeling good. Didn't really know I was going to fit in a Gus Bradley defense. So I wasn't really worried about it. Not to say I didn't work my ass off in OTAs and everything, but I was comfortable. Well, didn't fit the scheme. I was too big to play Leo. I was too small to play 3-4, defensive tackle. So we'll see you later. And that's how it goes, man. And, kind of circling back, Kasey, what you said about too of, what is the job for Liam Cohen now? Like, does he have to get a vibe for this roster to see who he has, or is the goal to try to win? And I talked about this yesterday a little bit, but I think that's a couple things. I think if you ask a lot of fan bases with new coaches of what the expectations are, the first question is, do you have the quarterback? If you have the quarterback, then expectation should be, well, you have to win right now. Right? Like they did that in Houston. And we didn't even know Stroud was going to be the quarterback. Right? But him and Ryans figured it out. Right. And they kind of made magic. In Washington, I didn't know they had a quarterback there when Dan Quinn got there. But now looking at Daniels, yeah, he's the dude. The resume speaks for itself. The results speak for itself. So if you have the quarterback, then it's on your pressure to be the coach and say, well, we have a quarterback. I'm the offensive-minded coach. We have to win right now. I think there's going to be pressure on Liam Cohen to win, just like there should be pressure in Chicago right now with Ben Johnson and say what you want about Caleb Williams, but in Chicago, they think they have their quarterback as well.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And again, my concern there is, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday, it feels like nobody has enough runway in the NFL right now to build. And you talk about Chicago, right? There is stuff that still needs to be built. They've spent a lot of money. I would argue they're probably in a better spot than Jacksonville is, right? But here, there's build that needs to be done. And in my opinion, I hope Liam Cohen gets the opportunity for that build. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I I'm going to show it to you here in a second. It's from Daniel Griffiths, who writes for ActionSportsJax.com. This is not one of the articles that he writes. We'll get into those later. But ActionSportsJax.com, if you go there right now on your browser, the show will start, so you can continue to watch the show. And there's a bunch of articles you can read, a whole bunch of content, good stuff. But he put this out yesterday night, and it's ESPN's predictions of the Jacksonville Jaguars statistics in 2025. Did either of you see this?
I did not.
Okay.
I have not seen this.
All right, get ready to have some questions. So there's a lot of numbers here, right? And Austin, I know on your iPhone 1, this is probably microscopic. So I'll try to hit the highlights. But where I want to start is with Trevor Lawrence at the top. ESPN predicting Trevor Lawrence will throw for 4,275 yards, 22 touchdowns.
Don't like it.
And 14 interceptions. He will add 3 more on the ground, according to ESPN.
Don't like it.
Yeah, so let's just start there before we, if you're obviously watching on the stream, you can see all the other numbers. But we're starting with Trevor Lawrence, 22 and 14. It has 17 games played. So assuming Trevor Lawrence is not going to get hurt, they think he is going to have just a mediocre season. Marcel, you said you don't like it. What part of it do you not like?
I mean, the first thing that sticks out obviously is the touchdown-interception ratio. I mean, throwing for a bunch of yards is cool. 4,000, I'd like that number to kind of creep up into the 5K mark. But if we're at 4,000 and that touchdown ratio is better, I think it's underwhelming. It's disappointing. I think mediocre would probably be putting it best. If you're looking at those numbers. I mean, the 22 to 4, if Trevor throws 14 picks, he would have to probably throw, 2-to-1 ratio, obviously, but we're talking like 35 touchdowns for people to feel good about 14 picks, especially considering, all the talk has been about taking care of the football as much as we've had. That would be tough. That would be a tough year for us. I think with those types of numbers from your quarterback, especially, I kind of got ahead of it a little bit and looked at the other numbers. But with those other numbers paired with what we saw from the quarterback, our season will be over in December for sure with those numbers.
Austen Lane, 22 to 14, not a number I was hoping to see there. 4,200 yards. What is alarming about those numbers if ESPN's right about Trevor Lawrence in 25?
Sure. So, obviously on my iPhone 1, I didn't get a chance to look forward in terms of like what the rushing yards were, but I assume that we're going to see some pretty good rushing productivity. But to echo Marcel, the touchdown and interception ratio, that can't happen, right? Because you have to be efficient in this offense. And I can't remember like what Baker Mayfield's numbers were last year, but I assume they were pretty high. I think he had his best season in his career last year, the Bucks, and this is when Chris Godwin went down early. This is when Mike Evans was out for a few games, and he was still efficient. He still got the job done. So if now we're saying, well, Baker Mayfield is the far superior quarterback than Trevor Lawrence, that's not a conversation I want to be having when the season's over next year. So to be fair, in terms of those numbers and everything, like, yeah, the yardage is okay. I get if you're going to try to run the football, but you have to be more efficient, and you can't bring the ball over that much.
So Baker Mayfield last year, 4,500 yards, 41 passing touchdowns without Mike Evans most of the time and Chris Godwin, 16 interceptions. So again, to Marcel, to your point, if you're going to throw a high number of interceptions, you better be in the 40s or high 30s in touchdowns. Baker Mayfield was that last year with Liam Cohen completing 71% of his passes. Yeah, if these are the numbers, and
Kasey,
right,
plus I think they were a top 6 rushing team last year as well. So I think they're the top 6, if not mistaken. So football as well.
Right. So listen, if Trevor Lawrence, if ESPN's right about this, we got huge major problems in Jacksonville. For a guy that's making what he's making, where you drafted him,
and for what you put around him too.
Yeah, you've invested,
the investment you've put around him. Yeah, if you're telling me that we're only going to get 22 passing touchdowns and we've got, an emerging BTJ, we've got, the unicorn Travis Hunter, who they're expecting to be a playmaker on both sides of the ball, sticking with the offense, of course, for this part. And even you spend money for a guy like De'Ami Brown, who you're expecting to come in here and be a flyer. That would be major. That would be a major problem for sure.
Major problem. And again, you mentioned them all, but Right now, the Jags will run out their number 1 overall pick quarterback, a first-round running back, 2 first-round wide receivers, a wide receiver you paid, to your point, and a second-round tight end.
Well,
That's invest. That's as invest as you can get without spending significant money in free agency, which they spent money on Trevor Lawrence, who they drafted. You get the point. Austen Lane, get really close to your iPhone 1. Here we go. Travis, actually,
got it. Yep.
Tank Bigsby, the projected leader in carries and yards for this and touchdowns for this Jacksonville Jaguars rushing attack. Just over 700 yards is the projection for a Tank Bigsby. Travis Etienne, about 30 carries less, about 150 yards less, 2 touchdowns less. Tootin, just about 300 yards rushing is the projection from ESPN. And LaQuint Allen, 4 carries. How about it? For 17 yards is the projection. That would be 9 rushing touchdowns in total from the Jags backs, and a total of 1,561 rushing yards is the thought from ESPN. Austen, I'm guessing this is not what you were hoping for when these rushing numbers popped up.
Not at all, man. Like, I feel like if you combine all those running backs together and you drafted just that one person in fantasy football, you still wouldn't be satisfied, right? So not necessarily what you want to see here by any means. I think it's definitely the hardest position to call in terms of what production is going to look like, because you could see in a world where Tank Bigsby does get the first down reps, right? Because he's not necessarily the best receiving running back out of the backfield. I'm sure he's working on it, but you'd rather go, I think, with Tootin or with ETN there. So, like, is he going to be the first couple down back, and then all of a sudden you rotate in ETN and you rotate in Tootin? It's hard to say right now, but regardless of what expectations are, Kasey, with this team this year, I think you want to see a lot more.
I think that's a given. Marcel, you were audibly upset with the numbers you saw here.
Yeah, that's not gonna get it done. I mean, obviously this is if you're telling me we're gonna get 547 yards out of ETN, regardless of what the carry distribution is. We got to have 1,000-yard rusher for sure for this offense to be successful. I mean, if these are the rushing numbers, that I can see why they're saying Trevor's numbers are going to be what they're going to be. Whether it's Tank or Travis that gets the bulk of the carries, I mean, we got to have a 1,000-yard guy and a 700-yard or a 600 or 700-yard guy maybe. Especially considering how much we've heard and we've talked about, like, the big investment and the focus in the run game. Looking at these numbers basically tells me that they can't run the football at all. And if we're talking about Trevor getting sacked 36 times and throwing 14 picks, this offensive output is telling me the offensive line is going to be hot garbage. It looks like they can't run the football and they can't protect Trevor Lawrence. And it all comes back to me up front. But just sticking with the running backs, I mean, I think, if we can get 300 yards out of Bashal Tootin, I'd be okay with that. I mean, obviously we're expecting the home run ball from him, so you'd like to kind of maybe get like 3 or 4 of those 60-yard runs,
Sure.
But I don't see the Tank Bigsby number doesn't hurt me as much if it's a little more balanced, right? If we're getting 700 yards out of both of them, okay, but it's not a very comforting list of statistics for the first 2 offensive groups that we have up here.
I would agree fully. Austen, I know you got to run, but real quick, if you want to hit it, Brian Thomas Jr., according to ESPN, will catch 96 footballs for 1,300 yards and 7 touchdowns. Travis Hunter will catch 80 footballs, just under 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. You happy with that?
I'm not necessarily mad at those numbers. I think it makes a lot of sense. Because once again, like, we don't, like, if Brian Thomas Jr. repeated his rookie year, like, that'd be amazing, right? But now you have other weapons to go to. So if he is the focal point the entire season, I think something's going to be up. So I'm not necessarily mad at the wide receiver numbers. They're not as concerning as the running back numbers. And real quick before I head out too, going back to the running backs, like, if those numbers say anything in the simulation, it shows that none of these running backs set themselves apart. What happened in Tampa is kind of a running back by committee. Then all of a sudden, Bucky Irvin just said, you know what? No, I'm just going to take the starting spot. I'm just going to ball out, and I'm going to be the dude. These numbers right here show me, well, Travis Etienne didn't really want to take the spot. Tank Bigsby didn't really want to take the spot. And Tootin is, still learning the game of football. So, like, if that's the situation that you find yourself in, and the whole year it's running back by committee, then yeah, you're gonna have some problems.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. Austin, go ahead, get out of here. Me
right.
and Marcel will continue to hold it down. Appreciate you jumping in.
No problem. I should be talking to you guys in like the last 30 to the last 45 minutes of the show, Kasey.
Appreciate you, brother.
One more.
Yep.
One more for you, Kasey. I think one thing that sticks out to me about this also is De'Ami Brown. If we're only getting 517 yards and 3 touchdowns out of De'Ami Brown, a guy that you paid, a guy you expected to come in here and be on the uptrend, the uptick, and be explosive. 517 yards over 17 games is not explosive.
Not a good investment.
I mean, you're telling me my guy's gonna average what's that? Math is hard. Like 50 or so yards per game or whatever.
It's not gonna work.
Not gonna work. And with just 3 touchdowns, like the reason you brought this guy in is to open obviously all 3 of these guys, they can stretch the field and open things up. Mm-hmm. But if you're telling me we're getting 517 from this guy, I mean, we're talking about, equally as disappointing of a free agent signing as Gabe Davis. All for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, no, I think I think you're spot on with that, right? And I go back to when Brent and Austin had Tony Baselli on before they drafted Travis Hunter, right? Obviously, things were a little bit different for what you could say, but, Tony Baselli had a good idea of how that was going to play out and still sound excited about De'Ami Brown.
Yep.
And, like, to your point with Travis Hunter, I'm not expecting Travis Hunter week 1 to go be a number 1 receiver, right?
Correct.
I think that's unfair expectations for the kid.
Sure.
So I would think early De'Ami Brown has a maybe bigger role than Travis Hunter in this offense.
Yeah, maybe first 4 games we're looking at maybe first game maybe 60 yards, second game maybe like a 90-yard game, sprinkle a 100-yard gain in there for somebody for weak side guy taking some of the attention away from Brian Thompson. Fourth game get you another 80-yard game or whatever. Based on these numbers, that's basically his entire season. So. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that I'm with you. I think that, and obviously Travis Hunter is going to, attract loads of attention just because I think just from a pride standpoint, defenses are going to want to prove him wrong that he can't play both. Mm-hmm. And obviously love the fact that that's nothing that Travis hasn't dealt with before. But I think you're right. I think the first few handful of games, like De'Ami Brown's a guy that you're expecting to kind of get off, and even like Parker Washington. I know he's kind of the odd man out here being the 4th wide receiver, but even still, this is a guy that saw some serviceable action last year. I mean, he's got to 238 yards and a touchdown for Parker. Honestly, kind of feels a little disrespectful, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, listen, me and Hamby talked about it a little bit this week. Like, there's a role for Parker Washington on this team.
100%.
And the 3 guys I believe that you have at the top of your receiver room, I'm not sitting here and telling you Brian Thomas Jr. and De'Ami Brown are the same receiver, but what I am telling you is they do have similar games, as does Travis Hunter. So I think there is somewhat of a carved-out role for Parker Washington. Is he going to be on the field every play? Absolutely not. But when he is on the field, like, it goes back to what Christian Kirk did, and I think it goes back a little bit to what Evan Ingram did, like 7 yards away from the line of scrimmage, getting open.
Yep, find holes and sit.
And, like, Trevor's going to find that guy. We've seen that. So I agree with you. I think Parker Washington is going to have a lot more catches than 21.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a lot more targets than 35. I get there's only so many footballs to go around, but I agree with you. I think that's low. I think De'Ami Brown, if that's what you get for your investment, I think we're having a conversation in the offseason next year again about finding another number 3 receiver like you did with Gabe Davis and like you've done here. And then to that point, at the bottom, Brenton Strange.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
the number that sticks out for me about Brenton Strange is, obviously I would like a little more, but the 583 that's not the number that really sticks out to me. It's really the touchdowns. I mean, if you're telling me we're getting 3 touchdowns, obviously you're going to be in the red zone. I mean, clearly you see our running backs aren't punching the ball in much throughout the entire year. 22 touchdowns Trevor's throwing, obviously. But I think Brenton Strange is going to be a guy who I mean, he's shown the ability to be effective in short yardage and in the red zone. He's going to be a guy that Trevor's going to look for more than 3 times in the end zone.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that fully. I think the yardage number and the catch number, I think, is pretty close to kind of where I thought this is going to end up. Me and Brent talked about it, and not to bring any spiritual things in here, but we were talking about, is it a 60-catch, 600-yard and 5 to 6 touchdown guy. Like, I think that would be really, really good if the Jacksonville Jaguars could get that out of a Brenton Strange. But to your point, I'm with you. I thought if, okay, you weren't going to be a 600-yard receiver, if he's not going to catch 60 footballs, I thought you could see a 5, 6, 7 touchdown number because of what he gives you in the red zone. And listen, to the point you just made, like, ESPN doesn't think the Jaguars are going to score a lot of touchdowns.
Correct.
Is where this thing ends up. And listen, I understand anybody can put out projections. These are from ESPN, which Dan Griffiths tweeted out, which we appreciate his work. But it surprises me a little bit that ESPN...
Yeah, this is a 7-10 football team.
I'm not surprised that they disrespected the Jaguars. What I am surprised is first-year head coach, who's an offensive coach, who just had a great offense in Tampa, not giving him much respect with a guy like Trevor Lawrence and Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. But I'm with you. This is a football team that, I mean, maybe wins 7 games.
Yeah.
Which...
not good enough.
Not good enough. Would be better than last year, but not good enough overall.
Yeah. But like you said, to your point, it's first year, a lot of moving parts, a lot of figuring things out. But to your, like you said, this is the expectations are still somewhat high, even for the new regime, right? And typically, high expectations are the things that lead to disappointments the most, right? Like if you have high expectations and you underperform, you're disappointed. If you have low expectations and you overperform, well, then you're excited. But I think this team has more than enough talent to win, more than 7 football games. This team has more than enough talent to, eclipse those stats that they had on there. Like I said, the biggest thing for me from reading those stats is they're saying that, one, as you said, they're the Jaguars and ESPN hates the Jaguars, but 2, they have no faith in what this team is doing on the offensive line. Because every bit of those numbers for every category says they can't keep Trevor upright, they can't make holes, and they can't run the football. So, what that means, and maybe those Brenton Strange numbers are low, according to ESPN, is because they expect him to stay in and help out on the offensive line, which is equally as, if not more, concerning. Yeah,
and I can understand the thought behind that with the offensive line because, listen, we talked about it early. Like, what are you going to get from Anton Harrison? Like, there's some good, there's been some bad. Walker Little, although you paid him, has not played a ton of football, left tackle in the NFL. And then I go to, you bring in a center that you benched if you're Liam Cohen. Last year, how is that going to play out? You love Ezra Cleveland, who I think you know what you're going to get. That might be the only guy you know for sure what you're going to get. And then you bring in a new piece at right guard. So I can see the thought process there nationally, why you may not love that, because I don't love that. But still, not great offensive numbers from ESPN for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We take a break on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Jags are done for the summer. Marcel Robinson is here. He did not get a haircut this morning.
Not yet.
Which it sounds like he could have, because I screwed up. So we'll keep working through that. Austen Lane was with us. He'll be with us a little bit later on. 11 o'clock hour, a lot of UNF conversation. Brent will talk to Nick Murrow. And we want to let you know on Saturday coming up on the network, Marcel will be involved with what's going on the right, the Jacksonville Armada home game, which you can see right here. The men and the women, all the home games you can see on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. This will be the men. The men continue to dominate, and you can see that at 7 o'clock. But before that, at 2 p.m., you can see the old school Kingfish Shootout, the weigh-in. We had Paul Dozier on yesterday to tell us all about that, what you can expect to see. And it will be a good time, so watch that. 2 to 6, I believe, on the network, but definitely starting at 2. And then there'll be, as I've told you all week, 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There'll be something from 6 to 7. You guys know me, I don't really work here, so I don't know what that is. But what I will tell you is at 7, the Armada will be on, and you can watch the men. If you are not heading out to Edward Waters, you can watch it right here on the network. When we come back, you'll hear from Tyson Campbell and more Jags conversation before we get into the UNF conversation starting at 11 o'clock.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, Beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
It's fast-paced.
Hands off on first down, and there goes Edward Vander.
High fly.
Wide open receiver. It's caught.
Action-packed. Weekend fun. Fun for the entire family. It's the Jacksonville Sharks.
I feel like anybody could play in this league. It's gotta be like backyard football, right?
Whoa! This ain't the Arena League, Brent. This the indoor league, and they play defense here.
It's a lot safer to just watch the professionals play. And watching is a lot of fun. A party in the stands at the arena for kids and adults. And it's indoors. Get out of the heat for the summer and watch the Sharks shine inside. Jacksonville Sharks football, season number 15. It's the Drive for 5, and it's still alive. Get your tickets at jacksharks.com.
Are you about to graduate high school and haven't decided on what you want to do when you get done? Well, one option is to apply to become a student in the Electrical Training Alliance of Jacksonville. Their program offers structured classroom and online training along with on-the-job training so that you can earn while you learn. Still not convinced? The folks at ETA Jacks are a tuition-free 4-year apprenticeship program. There is no tuition and no student debt. Just pay for your books and your fees. That's it. Now, speaking of pay, students, they start off making $40,000 per year, including benefits, and they graduate, get this, making over $80,000 per year, including those sought-after benefits. Now, that sounds pretty good to me, and if that sounds good to you, it should check off a lot of boxes. So head on over to etajacks.org and apply by May 15th. Again, the website right here, etajacks.org. Don't wait, apply today.
Grab some friends and go to a restaurant or head out for a drink and some conversation. Watch your favorite team play on the big screen. Or how about play some games? You can do all of that in one night at Best Bet.
Each location has a different vibe, its own personality, like here at the original Best Bet in Orange Park. When you walk through these doors, everybody knows your name. And here in St. Augustine, it's the newest location. Play some poker. How about the table games? And don't forget about Ace's Sports Bar and Grill. And then there's the Jacksonville location right here on Monument Road. It's the biggest poker room in the state of Florida. Maybe you'll find yourself a seat right here at the final table.
Best Bet, where you can have the best of times. And that makes you always go home a winner. Try any of the 3 locations, and you can always visit bestbetjacks.com.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
The man of the hour, the man of the month, the man of the year. Not literally, that's Eric Armstead. But
hey, y'all know 12 out here.
a lot of excitement for Travis Hunter here in Jacksonville. Was that the listen, I know you had a job to do. You were covering the whole team, but was that where most of the attention was for
Yes.
media and fans?
100%. Yeah, and to be fair, rightfully so.
100%.
I mean it's Travis Hunter. Like, he's the talk of the town everywhere. You know, if someone's on nationally, talking nationally about the Jacksonville Jaguars, it's either Liam Cohen's new, James Gladstone is finishing puberty, Trevor Lawrence is trash and injured, or it's hey, Travis Hunter is great. That's pretty. Unfortunately, the previous things, none of them are really factual or necessary at all. But that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
So it's and obviously everyone's curious. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious. I mean, the fact that he split the day, did half offense, half defense, kind of cool. Obviously I haven't seen that professionally in football, so it's kind of cool. But I think that for the most part, everything Travis does is like appointment television. So when we go from field 1 to field 2, typically it's like a contingency that moves with him. If he goes from one end zone to the next end zone, typically that contingency moves. And the first thing we do when we get out there, it's leave for 3 people, 12, 16, and Liam Cohen. So.
This is a dumb question, right? I know it. But everyone wants to talk about how different Travis Hunter is.
Yeah.
Did it scream to you that it was different? I understand they're not wearing pads. I understand he was on offense and defense, and that part in itself is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But when you were watching it, did it ever scream to you like, oh, this is completely and utterly different, or this is just a guy that's just at a high level?
Not until yesterday. Like I said, I think it's because most days it's been pretty separate. Mm-hmm. So like he hasn't done anything we haven't seen, like from what he did at Colorado. So like we've seen him do the other stuff. So being able to see it in person, it's like, when he's with the wide receivers, like you see like, oh yeah, dude's explosive. He gets in and out of breaks. Contrary to popular belief, he can run routes. He makes the plays. He's always moving, the energy, all that stuff that you've seen before is true. And then the one defensive day that we saw, it was kind of cool to see him out there getting in and mixing it in. Like, guy gets in out of his back pedals pretty clean, gets in and out of his breaks pretty clean, can definitely play the football, has a knack for finding the football in defensive reps. I think for me, it didn't look and feel different, like I said, until yesterday. When, one point in practice, he's in a teal jersey, and then he's in a white jersey. It's like, oh, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. This is an unfair question to ask you because I didn't prepare you for it, but that's kind of how I do things around here. I don't prepare anybody for anything. The one time I actually prepared you to come on the show, it turns out I wasn't prepared. So, this is on me overall, but...
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
There you go. You're right about that because I am never ready or getting ready, so that's a problem for me. But you've been to a lot of Jags practices, a lot of teams, right? A lot of human beings on the field. And I keep going back to what you said earlier, and it's spot on, and it's how I feel. Like, you play football in pads, they're not wearing pads. But is there a long list, a short list of dudes that you have seen just strictly in drills? You were like, oh, this is a highly talented player. And I'm not saying, like, you might not get that vibe from Travis Hunter. He obviously is. But, like, I always go back to Brent talking about Justin Blackmon, where it was like they knew from him running drills that if he was on the field, it was going to be special.
Yeah.
You have any of those standout moments from any point in time? Guys?
There's been a few. I think when Jalen got here, when he was out there, you could tell he was definitely different. I think a lot of it was, that particular kind of attitude and swag that he brought was kind of different than what we've seen a lot of times because it translated on the field. That was one. Man, I think in recent memory, like, even a guy like Trayvon, who just a large human being to be that massive and move the way he moves, like the speed and the quickness and the strength, to see him pick up sleds like we're in Dirty Dancing, whatever, picking them up. He's one. I'm trying to think on the offensive side of the ball. I feel like we've had a few that are just escaping me right now.
Like I said, I didn't prepare you for this.
Look, you know what's funny?
I think Trayvon's a good answer, by the way.
You know what's funny? I think I distinctly remember because I didn't cover. I wasn't here when they had Mojo, and obviously didn't cover the team when they were Fred. But when they had Fred, but I think I remember a guy like Leonard Fournette, like to see him hit holes and go, right? Like there wasn't, he still had the ability to dance a little bit, but like when he found the hole, just go and just take off. I think that was probably one, and I'm sure I'm missing a gang of them.
Yeah. But I think those are all good answers. I think what's interesting to me about that is like Trayvon Walker's had a nice career to this point, and the belief is he will continue to have a good career. Jalen Ramsey hasn't been here. Leonard Fournette, I'm not saying he had a bad career, but he wasn't here long.
Right.
What's interesting to me about that is, like, in my opinion, what they're doing out there right now on the field, I think the meetings are important and everything. I think it's a little bit glorified, like a pro day.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely I wouldn't go as far as say like the underwear Olympics, because they are doing like actual football stuff.
Right.
So there is a little bit there, but I will say there are certain things in practice that they've been doing, which obviously we'll hear from some guys talking about that a little bit later. But I think there's some intentionality at these practices that I don't think I've seen before. That's one of the things I was speaking with somebody about is like, whenever you're training someone to do things, like you want to train them kind of in the way that it may present itself in the game, right? So if you're doing DB drills, working on those, you don't want to do like the run of the mill, the basic stuff they've been doing since like 1972 or whatever like that. But like yesterday, we were watching me and one of the photographers, my guy Logan Bowles. We were sitting there with the DBs as they were working on like punch out drills, the Peanut Tillman drill. And like we've seen guys, they finish their drill and they work on, ripping the ball out and punching at it, but they're not like actively punching at it, right? It's just kind of like, almost like thud punching. But they were working on the DBs were working on the punch out drills, and they were punching the hell out of this ball, like full on Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas throwing hands on his football and on his dummy. And I think that's kind of like those types of things are the ones that you're like, all right, I can see it. It's different. It's intentional because in the game, when you go to punch out, like they say, you practice how you play. Like when you look at these clips and these slow-mo clips of these guys punching the balls out, even the D linemen, like they're cocking back and blasting on this pigskin. So, I think that's one of the things. But to your point, I think, like I said earlier, it is a little bit of a tempered expectation because they're not in pads, so it's not like quote unquote real football, but you can still see how some of that stuff that translates over. You just got to temper your expectations. Like we won't get a good judge of the offense and defensive line until they put pads on. Definitely. Like what you're looking at right now for the offensive defensive line is the offensive line. You're looking at their footwork. You're looking at their ability to kind of get in and out of their splits. You're looking at them, pulling guards or whatever like that, and just knowing what to do, breaking the huddles, like all this, the like intangible stuff. That they talk about, I think is what we're looking at now, which looks competent and looks like they're figuring out in the right way. Yeah,
no, it's good stuff. And you mentioned Peanut Tillman drill. I think it's funny that's kind of how that's described. Now, like you just described it that way. It's like, man, one dude did that. Good for him. Like what a legacy he left. But one person who would have been participating in that, I assume, was Tyson Campbell, who you talked to. We're going to play this in just a second. But going into now, what year are we in? Fourth year for Tyson Campbell?
This is his fifth. Don't quote me. Fifth year, I believe. I should know this. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, fifth. You're right. I think it's 2020, right?
Because Urban drafted him.
Yes.
He correct. Who shall not be named drafted him.
Yes, and that was not when it actually happened surprise, but the surprise from it would have been 21 because Trevor was the first pick and then they had the first pick again.
21. Yep. That's right.
But I remember being on radio and we talked about, okay, what are they going to do with that pick? And then the odds completely shifted to a guy like Tyson Campbell, who the conversation really was not much around. He was then since picked, played, and paid here in Jacksonville. But there hasn't been too much of the play on the field in the last couple of years. Not enough, I would say, because of injuries. Going into now this season with Tyson Campbell, where are you at with him?
I think it's just, availability is the best ability. I think, he's got all the intangibles. I was talking to a former Jags guy, a couple of Jonathan Cyprian and Josh Evans, a couple of former safeties that used to play for the Jags. I was talking to them yesterday at practice, and they were kind of asking me the same thing, like, what's my beat on him? We have the unique perspective of seeing these guys so often, and also being kind of up close and personal, watching them, being able to kind of focus on them from field level during the game and in practices and mini camps and offseason and all that stuff. And even, I've been fortunate enough to kind of see them like some of their offseason, like their workouts and stuff like that.
Right.
Like the guy he's got the skills, he's got the intangibles. It's just a matter of just being able to kind of consistently be on the field. And the soft tissue injuries are tough. The hamstrings are tough. It's a battle. But I remember, the big beat on Tyson was, even coming out of Georgia, because obviously I've seen a lot of his Georgia ball too.
Right.
When he first got in, everyone said he couldn't locate the football. Like the guy's fast, he's quick, he's always in position. It's just he goes the 90%, but that last 10 of locating the ball and making the play, that was kind of the thing that everyone was like, that's the one thing he's missing. And I saw them work on it, in practice and training camp and all that stuff. And even before the game, like the stuff that people don't see unless you're in the bowl, like every game, this guy goes to the end zone with a couple trainers, and they work on just fade ball, finding the ball. Literally just kind of walking your fade ball and finding the ball. And you could kind of start to see it, progressing, getting better at it, kind of finding that next step. And then, of course, injuries come in. And injuries, like, regardless of your progression, an injury, it derails, like, everything.
Yeah.
You miss a couple weeks, it's all about, that progression. So I think if he stays on the field, I think he can prove that he's worth, the roster spot, the money, and all those different things. But I think it's just that, that's the one knock on him right now is that he's just not on the field as much.
Very talented.
Very
there is
talented.
No doubt. They are a significantly better football team when he is on the field, and I don't want to put too much on him, right? But I think he's a guy that multiple years now you point to an injury for him, and then you go, look what happened after that. And
it's tough.
They really haven't had two corners be able to play at a high level when he's not on the field.
Yeah, and it's tough, especially like the type of injury he has, like soft tissue injuries. When you have them in the season, you don't heal from them. You just learn how to manage them.
Right.
Obviously for a guy, the position he plays is I feel like is one of the hardest positions in all of football, playing cornerback. Having a nagging hamstring injury from a position where you're pretty much in a constant backpedal and playing backwards is tough. And it's like you tweak a hamstring in week 3, you sit out for like 2 or 3 weeks or whatever, and don't do anything but rehab. When you come back, you're not the same. That's just how soft tissue injuries work. And it is truly unfortunate that that's just something that he's battling, and obviously you hope that they can correct.
Yeah, I mean, because they need him, right? If they want to win games and they want to be a team they think they could be, not just this year but going forward, they need him. They paid him to be that guy, but also he's shown you on the field that he can be that guy. He just needs to be there. You caught up with Tyson Campbell yesterday after the Jags' final day of mandatory minicamp, and that conversation is on the Action Sports Jags 24/7 network right now.
Continue to train, continue to get in top shape, and get stronger, faster, recover, and enjoy a little bit of time off. But yeah, just come back, making sure I'm in top shape for camp.
Between OTAs and minicamp, do you guys feel like you accomplished what you set out to? I guess some of your goals that you had in kind of this short acclimation period?
Yeah, just packing the scheme down, building that chemistry with your brothers, your new teammates, and the teammates that you played with in the past, and just building that camaraderie with the coaches and the whole staff, front office as well. So just trying to build that culture in so we can be ready for next season.
For you specifically, being, I guess I don't think it's far-fetched to say, one of the leaders in the room. What have you seen from just kind of, kind of how things have progressed? New scheme, like you said, new coordinator, really kind of a new vision for this defense too. What have you seen, and how have you guys been adapting to that?
Just a diverse scheme, a lot of energy, emphasizes on playing fast and running to the ball and forcing turnovers. So, everybody's pretty much bought in, and we can't wait to bring it along through camp and then throughout the season as well.
You spoke on it a little bit, but those turnovers, as a defense, that's always the focus, getting the ball. But it seems like you guys have been taking a little bit more of an intentional focus, at least from our vantage point, even if it's just, the punch-out drills and things like that. Do you feel like there's been a little bit more of an emphasis or just more practice with kind of getting the ball out? It shows up in the team drills, too.
I think it's just everybody buying in and, everybody being accountable and taking it upon themselves to, have an impact in their role, and part of our role is, to get turnovers. Regardless of what position you play on the defense, you're capable of making a turnover, and we know the weapons we have on offense, so we know we're a team, and we give them the ball back, they put points on the board. That help us get wins. So.
You speak about accountability, talking about yourself. You're a guy that's always been talked about, wanting to do more, kind of really being able to step into your role and make a name for yourself. You obviously have, but trying to get to that next level. What is, the next level for Tyson Campbell?
Just a complete season and consistency and, just being a leader on and off the field, for my brothers and, winning games, man. I know winning games and, bring a championship to Duval.
Has it been tough? You just mentioned it, kind of the being on the field and that consistency and staying healthy and finishing the season. I have to imagine that's one of the goals for you that you just mentioned. But, has it been tough in these kind of past few years, not finishing the seasons that you would have liked to?
Yeah, it's tough. But, God was teaching me something. And, I'm grateful for everything I've been through. It's allowed me to be, mentally strong and spiritually mature the way I am today. So I'm grateful for it all, the ups and the downs, the lessons and the blessings. So, I'm excited, for something new and, excited to see what God has in store for me and the rest of my teammates.
A couple of questions about, some of the newer guys on the team. We'll start with an older guy, Jordan Lewis. He's a guy that definitely seems like he brings some energy, some juice, some competitive spirit, helps you guys in that room as well. What has he brought to this defensive back room?
Just some knowledge, man. Just, a whole football player, a true leader, a good person. A guy that just brings energy to the room. So I love Jordan, man. Great guy, great player, great teammate. So definitely grabbed him.
Seems like a guy that's not afraid to let the offensive side of the ball know what it is.
Yeah.
Just to speak a little bit more about that kind of that. Obviously you guys have that competitive spirit, but the kind of that vocal, if you will. Him and a guy like Jarian Jones.
Yeah, you got that Detroit swag to him, man. Playing with DB, you got to have edge, you got to have swag to you, and that's what he brings. So, definitely enjoy having him, playing aside of me.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about 12. Obviously you guys go against him and you play with him in the room. How has that dynamic been, with Travis Hunter going up against?
Definitely impressed the way he's been able to manage all the info he's been getting on and off the field, and just the shape he's been in to be able to play both sides, man. Hell of a player, man. Excited what he's gonna do this year, and just doing whatever I need, to help him, get where he wants to get.
Has he leaned on you guys in any way?
Yeah. He asks us questions a lot about the defense. Definitely a sponge and willing to learn, has work ethic. So, great player.
Last one for you about, just kind of everything you guys have going on. It seems like the most consistent thing I've heard from all the guys is just it's a new energy. Like, it just feels different.
Yeah.
And you're a guy, you've been in the league for a little bit, so we hear that a lot, but it seems like it really shows up. Just talk about kind of like from your vantage point what that means.
Yeah, man. Coach Camp and the rest of Coach Cohen, from the training staff, the strength staff, everybody bring a totally new energy in the building, man. It's very uplifting, and everybody excited for what's to come, man. So it's exciting to see for sure.
I'd be remiss if I didn't, have a little dog talk with you.
Yeah.
Obviously talking about Georgia coming up, seems like a lot of talk is about the quarterbacks. But for you, obviously, you're a guy who pays attention to Georgia and stuff. But what are your thoughts on the team and coming up the season? What are you expecting?
I heard we got some new keys on the offensive side. What's it, Zachariah Brent?
Yep.
Got some speed at receiver. Got a couple new transfers too. And, we always bring in a great recruiting staff. So, I'm excited to see, man. I'm always the minimum is the college football player.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm expecting to see that again, man. So I'm excited.
Somehow I knew you had to get some Georgia talk in there.
Dog talk, baby.
You do what you got to do. Brent is yelling at me to go to break, but I'm asking you this first before we go to break because you saw it for 3 days. Brent's the one who's been sailing and skydiving and on his third honeymoon. So he can wait for a second because I think this is important. Jarian Jones, you guys talked to him. He talked about Jordan Lewis. You asked Tyson Campbell. He's now talked about it. From your vantage point, how was Jordan Lewis impacting that secondary group? Because it feels like everybody is bringing up his name in the conversation early on in his time here in Jacksonville.
Yeah, to keep it brief, I think it's just energy and experience. I think those are the two things. I mean, obviously he's a guy that's seen a lot of football. He's a very confident guy, which that's something that we learned when we first talked to him when he first got here. So that's good. I think the fact that when you have a guy that can bring that kind of juice and that kind of energy, you gotta have some dogs over there. He talked about a Detroit guy. What up, though? Got a little. Whoa, that was almost crazy. Got a little Detroit in him, but I think that he's very impactful on the field. Obviously we'll see what happens when they get in the pads and stuff. But to have a guy that can kind of bring up the energy if it might lull a little bit, talk a little trash, get a little intensity going. I mean, that's what you want over there in that room. You want guys like that. So I've enjoyed him. I haven't had a chance to watch him intently as I'd like. But come training camp, I'm thinking he's in the running for first 5 guys to start a fight in joint practices for sure, Jordan Lewis.
Yeah, I would be there with you for sure on that one. But I do think it's interesting that these guys are bringing him up. I know you asked Tyson about him, but again, there's a lot there, and I think he's a good guy to have from that perspective, and also from the perspective of what happened to Trevor Lawrence last year against Houston, and there were some comments about how many dudes were out there running and trying. Austen was very vocal about why everybody wasn't out there starting to fight. I have a feeling this dude would have been right there with Evan Ingram and trying to get after another team for taking a shot at the quarterback. So I think it's important you have those guys, and I like what I'm hearing so far about him. All right, Brent, calm down. We're going to break, and then we'll get you on. Listen, don't go on vacation for a week. Not my problem. We're having a good conversation here, letting the people know about Tyson Campbell. And Marcel was talking to him. We had to play it, but Shark Bite's coming up today on a Friday, 7 p.m. Saturdays at 1 as well, right here on the network. All of the Jacksonville Sharks home games you can see right here on the network as well. Last Saturday, about 6 days ago at this point, you saw the Jacksonville Sharks win at the arena. On the road this week, then back at home next week. You can go down to the arena, see the game, but if you can't make it down there, you can watch all of the home games right here on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. When we come back, Brent joins us from who knows where in the world, and apparently wants to talk about UNF, so we'll do that right after this.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models, or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at NimnickBuickGMC.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. And most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade.
Confidence boost from Botox, fillers, Morpheus 8, and so much more. The hardest part was figuring out what I needed. Thankfully, the medical team walked me through what would work best for me through a free consultation. Come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants.
We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter.
Right now, you can get a free Connecticut reverse osmosis system with the purchase of a Connecticut Premier Softener. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Empower a future, inspire a dream. It's a bold but simple mission for the Jacksonville Police Athletic League known as Jax PAL. Help the next generation of kids in Jacksonville shape a brighter future. Their after-school programs, teenage leadership programs. There's community outreach.
This has been just an awesome opportunity to be out here with my colleagues and do something good for the community. It's really been an interesting opportunity to just see everybody work together in a way that we don't normally in the office.
And there's sports.
There are also ways you can help the next generation with a donation of any kind. Just visit jaxpal.org to get more information. Empower a future, inspire a dream with Jax Pal.
Most of us know how to throw. But you need to know what to throw. I'm not talking about footballs, baseballs, softballs. We're talking about those items you need to recycle. Republic Services explains it easy. Recycling simplified. 1. Know what to throw. When in doubt, throw it out. 2. Empty, clean, and dry those materials. It takes an extra minute, but it makes a big difference. And 3. Don't bag it. This makes the recycling process faster and more efficient. This is a look at the Republic Services North Florida Recycling Center. You can make this process even more efficient. By utilizing those 3 steps, Republic Services can help you become a better recycler in your home. Learn more at recyclingsimplified.com.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Old School Kingfish Shootout this Saturday, 2 p.m. is the weigh-in. You can watch it right here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Somebody is going to win a very, very, very expensive boat. First place. We talked to Paul Dozier about it yesterday. It's going to be something to see. Lives are going to change at the Old School Kingfish Shootout, and you can see it right here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. We now go live to wherever, New York. I've heard this guy's on honeymoon number 3 for his career. That's what I heard. I'm not sure who reported that, but that's what I heard. Then we heard he was skydiving. I'm not sure who reported that, but that's what I heard. Then I heard sailing the ocean blue off the coast of New York. Not sure who reported that, but that's what I heard. All of this while the Jacksonville Jaguars were practicing football and Brent was nowhere to be found. Brent Martineau, how goes it, my friend?
Well, very good. Thanks for the introduction. By the way, one of the great trips ever take, and if you get the chance to do it, is going to Bermuda off out of New York on a little cruise. Like, that's a good one. You know, I like the Bermuda cruise because there's really not a lot to do in Bermuda. Like, you see it, it's small, so you can just kind of hang out. I don't want to go like see and all that kind of stuff if I can avoid it. So, so we are hanging out actually in a place called the Horseheads, which is just outside of Elmira for the next couple of days. We're eating all the good places in Elmira or in the area. That's what we've been basically doing, eating, even more than watching football. I tell you what, really nice golf course up here though too. And
you've been playing?
Played a couple. Played a little bit.
Of course, he's been playing.
Played more golf. I played 27 holes, which is outside of going to Cabot a couple weeks ago, is the most golf I've played in a week in a long time. So,
took your clubs up there, or you had to rent some?
No, I took my clubs. Yeah, it's easy enough. Take my clubs.
Full on vacation for this guy. While Marcel Robinson is at 1,000-degree Jaguars camp every day. Brent, do you feel bad, or kind of scum behavior?
Not at all. Not at one bit. He'll be on vacation next week, and he's earned it. I'm not saying I've earned it, but I don't get too crazy about showing a Trevor Lawrence little swing pass to Brenton Strange for 12 yards. That
it's glorious too.
Oh my goodness!
He threw a touchdown to Tank Bigsby, Brent. I mean, you missed a lot.
It was the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Stay on your feet, Tank.
Yeah.
Just Kingfish tournament coming up. They've obviously got today the captain's meeting, so that's pretty cool. We've been talking about it for weeks and weeks. So a big weekend back home with the fishing. So that's fun stuff. You mentioned the Sharks. Sharks are on the road tonight, so they'll be in action tonight. Stuart Weber will have that. And before I forget to do this, welcome to Danville. We have our summer series continuing on Saturday and Sunday, including a Father's Day edition on Sunday. So all the different conversations Marcel and Stuart and Liv and everybody else been getting this week, we'll have some of those on Action Sports Jax Primetime, 10:30 on Fox 30, 11:30 on CBS 47. Good to join you guys for an hour or so because, we're swooping Marcel Robinson and Kasey Kuhrts, and this is like This is like a UNF reunion right here.
Stay swooping all day, every day.
Stay swooping. That's what we're going to do. Listen, no complaints about that. I will say I screwed up Marcel's whole day. Not sure if you caught the beginning of the show, Brent, but I was real mad at you yesterday, so I was, about to walk out and never come back when I saw that I was doing the show by myself. Marcel's like, I'll help you out. I appreciate it. Great. Then find out he canceled or he moved a haircut appointment. I was like, this is not a good start. Then Austen shows up. Then Brent's like, I'm going to be there. We're talking UNF. I was like, I really ruined Marcel Robinson's life. So I hate to do that. But
sometimes you just got to pivot. I will say I was supposed to be in the chair initially, like right at this particular moment, but that's okay. Go. No, it's okay. It's all good. I shifted it to 3:00 because you know why? I'm a good guy like that. That's what I do.
All right. Well, let's get. I think Nick Morrow's in studio, so let's get to him. He's celebrating all these Ospreys. How about the athletic director of the University of North Florida? We have to deal with a little barking dog action here for a little bit.
Come on, get that dog out of there.
Where I am, but friendly dog, just having some fun. Wants to play a little bit. Hey, Alex. One other story. Alex Lodis for Florida State out of Bartram Trail just won the Dick Hauser National Player of the Year award. And it's a good time to have Nick Morrow in because we root for the local guys. Awesome for Alex Lodis to win that award, a very prestigious award. He's up for the Golden Spikes Award as well. Had an unbelievable year. He's going to get drafted most likely in the first round come July. But Nick, how do you look at something like that? You guys found Alex Lodis, and so are you prideful of that? Some of these guys that kind of move on and still do well. Is that just do you cheerlead some of that now, or is it like, dang, we could have had him for a couple more years?
Think about this. So 2 years ago, we had the best shooting guard in the entire country on our campus and the best player in the country and for baseball on our campus. It's pretty wild. And Chaz Lanier getting the best shooting guard in the country, playing for Tennessee this year, and then what Alex has done at Florida State. So we're proud of that. Right, because we found them, we recruited them, we developed them, and then they've gone on to do big things. There's no point in getting upset about it at this point, because that's the nature of the new college athletics world, and so we take pride in being able to develop them and go reach their athletic dreams. Their athletic dreams might not be stay at UNF, become an all-conference player, and win a championship. Their athletic dreams may be, hey, let me contribute to UNF, and then go and go to that next level and earn a nice check, and then position myself for a pro career.
Yeah. I have this overarching question, though, that I'm going to get to it right now because there's a couple of things. Nick's kind enough to join us today, coming off that huge ruling with the NCAA. It was about a week ago today, actually. It was like late on a Friday night news drop type of thing. And we're all still trying to figure out. I think even Nick will admit they're still even trying to figure everything out. Yeah. So we'll get to that. But also want to talk about the Ospreys. But before I get, well, let me do this twofold. I'll talk about the Ospreys right now because Smilla Colby just made it to the championship at the track and field nationals. She's been very decorated for you guys. You go back a couple of years, I forget the name, and you'll remember tennis. She was one of the best tennis players you guys had on campus as well.
Kit Gullahar, yep.
Yeah, she was fantastic. You look at Allison Benning and what she's been able to do this last couple of years in softball. I mean, it's pretty amazing. We talk about Lodis or a guy like Lanier, you find, you develop, they move on. But you've also been able to keep, right? Especially the really good, great female athlete. You guys had some of the best athletes that have ever played at the University of North Florida come by in the last few years.
Yeah, that's a great point. And we've collected a couple of our own transfers, and so UNF has had 3 female All-Americans this year. The previous 14 years of being full member of Division I, we've had 2 total. We've had 3 this year. And so Zara Siassi, who's was a 5-year player for UNF, so she was here from day one, kept playing, and she actually just signed a pro contract with Sporting Jacks, so will continue playing in Hodges Stadium moving forward, which is pretty cool. Allison Benning transferred to us from Oregon, and then Smilla Colby, she transferred to us from Southern Miss. All 3 became All-Americans this year and have done tremendous things. Smilla was one of 24 800-meter runners who qualified for the finals out in Oregon. And so she ran last night, and then she qualified for the finals tomorrow night. I think about 10:16 will be her race time tomorrow night on ESPN, and she's one of 9 And so she will be most likely a first-team All-American. So she'll be a first-team All-American in indoor track and outdoor track, which is pretty rare regardless of where you go to school and who you are. To be able to do that in both indoor and outdoor is tremendous. And then she'll turn around.
That's unbelievable. Go ahead.
It is. And then she'll come back and she'll be here just briefly. And then she's going to go to Germany and run in the German championships. And she's going to be a name to watch because she could be in the mix to make the German Olympic team.
Wow. Marcel, I'm going to let you talk here in a minute, but let me just follow up. Why, Nick, have you buried down on the why of that? Like, why have you been able to do that? You just said 3 All-Americans. Like, I got to believe there's a lot of things, right? Good coaching, good recruiting. But again, to be able to keep is almost like the craziest thing, because it's so hard to do this day and age.
Yeah, well, we have a pretty amazing athletic director that helps us retain that. What we really focus on is building a really solid, holistic support system around our student athletes. And so we want to make sure that they love their time here. And I would put our retention rate, let's take men's basketball out of it. I would put our retention rate across all of our sports up against pretty much anyone in the country. We retain at a really high level. We have very few that leave the program to go in the portal and try and figure out what's next. And so we're proud of that fact. And it's a lot of because we have such a good quality of life in Jacksonville. We have a great academic institution. Our location, not just within the country being in Jacksonville, but our location in terms of where we're situated in Jacksonville is tremendous. 7 miles from the beach, across from the town center, really close to the Action Sport Jack studio, all those great things that we've got going for us. And then we've invested in what we build around them, from academics to sports performance to athletic training to mental performance, mental health, all those things to help them be at their best. We're not the richest athletic department in the country, so we're not writing a bunch of full rides with NIL money stacked on top of it. But we can make sure they have a great experience and that we set them up for the next 40 years of their life. And that's really what college athletics was founded on. And we're still embracing that. And so we make sure they have a great experience and then they can flourish and become who they are right now.
Go ahead, Marcel.
Yeah, and I was gonna say you sort of alluded to a little bit, Nick, but like as you said, like the retention rate. Obviously the sports that are kind of at the forefront, those are the kind of the faces of the university. Of course, you see kind of the incoming and the outgoing, the revolving door there, and like you said, a lot of people look at it as kind of like they just come here and they go. But does the fact that you have these success stories of the athletes that are they incoming here, and even the ones that are there from day one, is that kind of what I guess, for lack of a better term, I guess, helps you sleep better at night whenever you do have a guy like a Chaz Lanier who may go, or someone, or like a Lodis who goes?
Yeah. No, we understand where college athletics is headed, where we're at right now. And if we can develop and help them reach their goals and their dreams, let's look at men's basketball this year. Of course, we got gutted again. Mm-hmm. 3rd year in a row, we've lost 7 to 8 guys. But we've had 2 guys exhaust eligibility out of our top 6 that played a lot, 4 go into the portal. Those 4 cumulative made over $2 million in NIL deals in this offseason. 3 of them are going to the Big Ten, and so that's pretty rare because there was an article that came out. It was about a couple months ago that really surveyed the transfer portal scene and how many went up in a level, how many down, how many stayed at the same. And we exceeded the percentage of transfers that move up. Most of them move laterally or they move down. But we've actually had quite a high percentage move up. And so that's actually, we're above the norm from that. So I think people take notice that we're recruiting a high level, high character individual. We don't have behavioral issues. We have good academic standings, and we've been able to develop our players. And so you see it all the time now at Power 4. They are not recruiting high school at a high level. Right. Those especially the basketball footballs of the world, they're going to go and recruit the mid-major first because that's proven college film and tape. They're only going to go after high school if it's like a no-brainer 4 or 5 star.
Sure.
So when we look at that, we know we're going to get gutted each year, but also that might be an opportunity for our coaches now. Now do we go after a higher level high school athlete that maybe we wouldn't have gotten before? And now do we take, and it's of course more of a risk. Anytime you bring in a high schooler over a proven college player, it's going to be more of a risk, but we've got to take risk at North Florida. While the Power 4, are going to still come in and just take our best players.
Sure.
And that's okay. And now we are trying to situate ourselves so we can get more into the revenue sharing NIL game so that rather than lose 4 guys to the portal, maybe lose 2 guys. Can we retain 2? Because at the end of the day, the most successful programs across the country are old. They're old and experienced. So if we can keep a core group together at least, that gives us the best chance to win the ASUN conference, which ultimately we're going to be a one-bid league. That's really where our focus has got to be. How do we be the best in our conference?
Real quick follow-up to that. You talked about the ever-changing landscape, obviously. How does that kind of – what's the difference in terms of how you guys pivot, like as things are changing? Because like you said, with the Power Fours, it's pretty much easy. They just kind of throw a bag at you. But for the mid-majors such as UNF, as everything's sort of pivoting, it's a sort of a little bit of a different approach for you guys, obviously, because it's like, I mean, we're not out here trying to compete with like a, for basketball, like a Duke or UNC or Blue Bloods, right? What's the focus and how do you guys pivot in terms of kind of navigating that changing landscape?
Yeah. So Coach Driscoll and I, before he left, really talked about how we were going to enter this off season of recruiting because we needed to get old. We had some talented freshmen coming in. Had a couple guys that were kind of redshirted, got low minutes that were staying. We didn't have very much experience. As a matter of fact, Mason Lee had been here longer than anybody, the local Providence product, and redshirted one year and played, some minutes the second year, and he was the most experienced person we had. So we were looking at those grad transfers. We really, again, focus on the experience that we have. Now we can really focus on, hey, look what we've done. We've developed, these 5 guys who all have gone on to make, $500,000 to $1 million each, and that's a selling point too. And so we got to focus on that development. Now we got to get in the NIL and revenue sharing game at a little higher level because half the ASUN conference right now is spending somewhere between $300,000 to $500,000 on a roster. Half our conference. We're not. And so we still got to get in that game, or it's going to be hard for us to be competitive, or at least have the expectation of our coaches to be competitive. We're not in it in some form or fashion.
Right.
If we were in it in some form or fashion this year at that level, we would have retained, a Jalen and a Liam, and we would have retained a couple of our guys, which would have made us that much better. And so it's ever evolving, and we've got to keep being strategic on how we approach building our programs.
Nick, can you find that money?
I've got ideas on how to do it without necessarily going after donors. Donor fatigue is a real thing. We've got infrastructure issues that we need to address, but there is a plan that I've presented to our university leadership on how we could get at least $500,000 going. And it's basically, using internal resources that we've got and repackaging it. But you've got to make up for some lost revenue, like game guarantees. Can we use the portion, if not all of that, to give back to the programs to go out there and recruit? And so got a game plan there, and there is a path to get there. It'll probably be a multi-year deal before we're doing $500,000, but at least, again, we're going to have a mechanism in place now moving forward on how to do it. So let's come across a donor that says, I don't care about anything you got going on infrastructure. I want to pay NIL. Okay, we're going to have that system in place starting in July. So now at least we have a mechanism to do it when we didn't have it before. Because under the old NCAA rules before, which just came into effect last week, is that you had to run it out of a third party. Those collectives are all third-party businesses. Those are not run by the university. And so you had to find somebody that wanted to come in. They wanted to start a business. They wanted to enter into agreements with athletes. They wanted to collect payments, donations from donors. Then they wanted to turn around and pay athletes. And then they had to do taxes and other forms involved in running a business. I have a lot of people excited about running a business that just pays athletes. Well, now I don't have to worry about that because under this new model, now you can run it in-house. You take all that in-house and you're reading stories all over the place where all these collectives that existed are now getting folded in-house. The only people that will continue to run collectives are the richest, who are going to meet the new revenue sharing cap, but want to keep spending beyond that. Yeah, your SEC and Big Ten schools, about half of them will probably do that. Texas Tech is clearly doing that. They're projected to spend $55 million on all their rosters across all their sports next year.
That's crazy.
$55 million they're going to spend on athletes. And so when your revenue sharing cap is 20.5, you still got that means you're generating another $35 million in donations from folks to make that happen.
It's unbelievable. Let me go through a couple of bullet points from the ruling last week, and because I want to, like UNF doesn't fit in the same umbrella as everybody else. There's like this Power Four world. There's the Texas Techs of the world that a guy's sold an oil company and has $1 billion now and can do whatever he wants. So you can buy your way into what looks like they're buying themselves some softball players, right? And a really good program at Texas Tech. But UNF can't do that. You just told us that. The $2.8 billion where they're going back 10 years and giving some folks money. Can you give us an example of somebody that might get, like, do you guys have anybody at University of North Florida that would get anything going back 10 years? Dallas Moore, I don't think fits. Like, would he have been a candidate if he fit in the window?
Yeah, he just squeezes in. So assuming
he squeezes in. Okay.
Yeah, because he graduated in 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, 2017. And so as long as he filed, that's the thing. All these student athletes had to file, and that was due back in like January. And so we went around and promoted them filing. I don't know how many did. I don't have record of that. But I know there's a couple people in my office that are former student athletes. I encourage them to do it and watch them do it. And so we got a former women's golfer and a former beach volleyball player that played during that era, and they're set to get, I think $700 was the estimate the system spit back. So, I mean, $700,
Hey.
I'll take that, right? I mean, and so they got that. But then you look at a basketball player. So, our office manager is a former beach volleyball player who married Carter Hendrickson. And so Carter Hendrickson went through with exercise, and basketball players are set to get thousands of dollars because there's video game element to it. There's different things tied to basketball that's not tied to the Olympic sports. So out of the $2.8 billion, 75% roughly is going to go to football players. About 15% is going to go to men's basketball, 5% to women's basketball, and then the rest of the sports. So if you file the claim, you're getting something.
Yeah.
And so that's a good thing. Hopefully, most of our people, put in for it and they'll get a little something out of it, because if we have to pay back, and UNF is going to lose about $285,000 a year out of our NCAA distribution for this payback. And so if we're going to pay into this, I at least want some of our athletes to get it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Good point. All right. So the $20.5 million that everybody keeps hearing, this revenue share thing, let's be crystal clear about it. I got to tell everybody here and what people, you're not doing that. You don't have, UNF is not doing that, right?
So our total operating budget, total expenses we report each year for the past 2 years have been about $17 million. And so us spending $20.5 million revenue sharing, I like to think I'm a decent business guy, an accounting major from Florida. And so I don't think that adds up.
Math.
That's math on that. Now, that's the revenue sharing cap. We can get involved in revenue share. So if our revenue share ends up being $500,000, that could be that. There's other rules that go towards that revenue sharing cap too. So under the new NCAA guidelines, there's roster limits, not scholarship limits. And so if anything you spend on new scholarships above the existing rules counts towards that cap, up to $2.5 million. So let's take baseball. Baseball is 11.7 that you could spend on a roster up to 40. Well, now the roster limit's 34. No more than that could be on your roster as of December 1st. And so that gap between 11.7 and 34, every scholarship dollar spent there counts towards a revenue sharing cap. So it's not just direct NIL spent by the university. There's other things that count towards that cap. And so we'll get involved in some of that. So at the end of the day, our revenue sharing cap, when we really roll out our plan and be able to execute over the next couple of years, we might be saying we're spending $3 million towards the revenue sharing cap. Well, it's a combination of new scholarships, Austen Award, and some direct NIL.
Okay. Marcel, you can jump in here a little bit as a Georgia Bulldog. And I think we kind of did this last week on the show, or maybe it was earlier this week when it came out. And Nick, I'm going to put you in charge of a Power 4 school now for a minute. And you guys can wrestle over this, but you got $20.5 million. Where's the percentage go to football at Georgia, say, or Florida? And where does it go to basketball? And what does that leave for baseball? And what does that leave for softball and Title IX stuff and where you want to be good? I've heard Florida State really wants to be good in women's soccer over these last few years. They've spent a lot in that area, and they're way better than a lot of teams because of it. So, how do you pick your poison there, Nick? What goes into that, do you think, especially with those two schools I gave an example with, where you've got to be football heavy in the South?
Yeah, so a lot of the Power 4 are modeling the payback portion of it. And so I talked about 75% going to football, 15% to men's basketball, 5% to women, and then the rest. A lot of Power 4 schools are modeling that with their 20.5. Okay. And so that's looking to be a popular move. Other people are looking at it more of, okay, who's going to bring us the most exposure?
Right.
What have we been successful in the past? Okay, let's double down on that. And that's why you see like Florida State going to give women's soccer some money. Their collective was handing out 6-figure deals to some soccer players, women's soccer this past year. And so they've been very good in women's soccer, and they want to stay very good. Other programs are like, well, we haven't really been successful in this, so we're not going to give them any more. We'll just keep them where they're at right now. Some are like, well, look at how much viewership you get if you make a run in baseball or softball. Okay, let's go a little harder there. And so those that don't have unlimited resources are going to do that. Your Texas of the world, there's a handful of schools that come out and say, basically, we're going to fully fund every sport because we can, because we're rich. I talked about us having a $17 million operating budget. University of Texas has a $336 million operating budget. Technically, we're competing for the same national championship. Right? Yeah. So, and that might be the next fight that comes up here. So, but they can afford to do that. They can fully fund every position, do a $35 million football roster. Like, it is wild. It's next level at that Power 4 for sure. And so part of this whole NCAA model too is there's going to be a new governance structure that's going to come out. That's going to give a lot more autonomy to the Power 4. They're basically going to be able to make the rules however they see fit because they're going to have like 65% of the voting power. Now, they're still working through nuances of it, but they are going to have more power under this new system. And what they want will go for the most part.
Marcel, jump in on your dogs if you want, or take it anywhere you go before we head to a break.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to pick up kind of like you were talking about as far as like allocating sort of the pie. You talk about, from a purely business standpoint, obviously the athletic director, it's, where are we going to see the most return, whether it be exposure and things of that nature. But, from like the athletic director kind of managing, the personnel, being your coaches, what type of conversations are you expecting to have with them? Because obviously, if I'm, obviously softball, we're talking about Jeff Conrad, he has a very good claim to say, hey, look, we're kind of hot right now versus, some of your other teams that, from a coach's standpoint, sure, they might have, the objective opinion of, hey, I see it. They kind of are, the biz needs, if you will, right now. But, what about us? What's kind of the conversation in that regard of, say, like, for example, like if it's, I don't want to throw anyone specific out there, but a team that's not, on the rise, if you will.
I have my Power 4 hat or my UNF hat on?
Yeah. You have your UNF hat on for right now.
All right, cool. What's nice about not having football is that I think we can invest in all of it. And there's been some noise about already from the SEC and Big Ten because now they're seeing Big East basketball. Big East basketball now doesn't have football they can invest in, and they generate a good chunk of money. So now all of a sudden their rosters could be $8 to $10 million just for basketball. And so they could really invest heavily into that. Now, at UNF, I feel like we could invest in every single sport, and that's our plan, is to everybody gets increases. I've talked a lot with our CFO, a lot with our president about how we could do that, what the approach is. If we don't, we won't be competitive as like we are now. But if we do, we can not only be as competitive we are now, we could be greater. Because I truly think that we could be the best in the ASUN conference and compete for a championship every single year. But we've got to invest in the scholarship piece. So right now, under the current NCAA rules, if we fully funded scholarships, we would hand out about $4.2 million. That's 161.2 scholarships if we fully funded under the current rules. The new rules, our roster limit will be 340, which will cost over $8.5 million. Now, I'm not saying we need to fully fund roster spots, but if we can get to $5 million, we could be extremely competitive in every sport. And we've done really well, too. Just under the model we are now, we're the lowest funded scholarship support in our conference. We're we're 11th out of 12 right now in terms of number of scholarships we hand out. But yet we're finishing top 5 in the All Sports Trophy, winning championships. So that's what excites me. I'm not saying that from a complaining standpoint. I'm saying from if we invest in this, we can dominate the ASUN conference. We can be a national brand, make national attention. Look at what softball just did. They got millions of impressions, a lot of talk about our program. Allison Benning made it to a regional final, one of the last 32 teams left. Softball America just came out. We're number 25 in the final rankings that they put out in the country. That's great exposure, and that's so that's what can happen if you invest into your programs, and so that's really the approach we're taking. Everyone's going to benefit. Some people will benefit more.
Sure.
To your point, who's going to bring us the greatest amount of exposure? Who's going to generate the most revenue? Who's going to bring that national attention? Because our job as a Division I athletic department is to drive enrollment, drive student life experience, drive donor and community engagement. So those three things. What sports drive that at a higher level than others? And those are the business decisions we have to make. But no one's going to get cut. Everyone's going to go up.
Now I want you to put your Power 4 hat on and kind of we'll kind of localize this a little bit. You're talking about, obviously football is always going to be king, especially down here in the South. We'll move a little bit west over to the Florida Gators. Obviously their football program is going to be king, but you got a basketball program coming off a national championship, got a lot of momentum, a lot of guys coming back. They might say, hey, we want to keep our guys. We want a bigger piece of the pie. What's that conversation? Because you have other sports that are also pretty good. You have the softball team, baseball, the gymnastics teams. What's that conversation if, like, Todd Golden says, hey, look, I know football's king, but, we want a little bit more of the pie because we want to keep what we're doing.
Right. It'd be interesting to see how big their collective is because that's going to play a big part in it because that $20.5 million will only go so far.
Yeah.
And you got to dump a lot of it into football because if any program brings more exposure or generates interest or revenue, like college football is king for sure. But that market value or that marketing value that the University of Florida got after a Final Four run, pretty darn good, and so then you also have to capitalize on that excitement. People are more willing to donate to Florida basketball right now coming off a Final Four than a 500 season where they missed the tournament. And so you've really got to double down and really build up that fund from that perspective. And then the other sports, if you've been in it long enough or been in it, period, you should recognize that you exist for the most part because of success of football and basketball. If they're good and they're generating more, you're going to get more. So yeah, let's root for them at a high level.
Like humility.
Yeah, 100%. Because if they have success, you're going to get some extra funds, and you're going to get your support. And a place like the University of Florida, I wouldn't be surprised if most of them end up being fully funded at some point. So that's the other thing about this revenue sharing cap. It starts at 20.5 this year, but they're projecting over the next decade to get all the way to 33 million.
Yep.
Because every year it takes a little jump up. And so then you could kind of scheme too, even if coming out of the gate, hey, we can't fully fund and do everything, but here's our 3 to 5 year plan on how we're going to get you there.
Nick, you're doing. Oh, sorry.
No,
sorry to
you're
interrupt. You want to finish that thought? You're doing a great job, by the way. Awesome stuff. This is not easy stuff to understand, and so we appreciate you sharing with it, and also talking about the UNF programs, and also on the higher levels too, what it means. Let's take a break because we're going to be way late if we don't. But when we come back, I actually feel like listening to you. You guys are in a much better situation than maybe I thought with all this, and I don't know if I'm right, but I'll explain why I think that way. And also the impact on high school kids. I think moms and dads and people like that would love your thoughts on that in today's landscape, because we're always promoting that on a lot of our things that we do, and finding kids homes, which is the hardest time to ever play college sports right now in the history. We know that. Not many times you can absolutely say that, and we know that. And then a little bit more on UNF, including the basketball program, which just had a mega change with Coach Driscoll departing and Bobby Kennan in, and we're going to have Coach Kennan on the show probably next week, but I'd love to get your thoughts on that too. So still to come, Brent and Austen Show, Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. Looks like a pretty good day in Jacksonville on a Friday, heading into the weekend in the middle of summer. Beautiful spot to be. More with Nick Morrow, the athletic director at the University of North Florida, when we come back.
Are you about to graduate high school and haven't decided on what you want to do when you get done? Well, one option is to apply to become a student in the Electrical Training Alliance of Jacksonville. Their program offers structured classroom and online training, along with on-the-job training, so that you can earn while you learn. Still not convinced? The folks at ETA Jax are a tuition-free 4-year apprenticeship program. There is no tuition and no student debt. Just pay for your books and your fees. That's it. Now, speaking of pay, students, they start off making $40,000 per year, including benefits, and they graduate, get this, making over $80,000 per year, including those sought-after benefits. Now, that sounds pretty good to me, and if that sounds good to you, it should check off a lot of boxes. So head on over to etajax.org and apply by May 15th. Again, the website right here, etajax.org. Don't wait, apply today.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242.
You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing.
Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Save 10% off any water heater plus no trip charge. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
For the game day hustle and every day in between, juggling my show Jag Social to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
Grab some friends and go to a restaurant or head out for a drink and some conversation. Watch your favorite team play on the big screen. Or how about play some games? You can do all of that in one night at Best Bet.
Each location has a different vibe, its own personality, like here at the original Best Bet in Orange Park. When you walk through these doors, everybody knows your name. And here in St. Augustine, it's the newest location. Play some poker. How about the table games? And don't forget about Ace's Sports Bar and Grill. And then there's the Jacksonville location right here on Monument Road. It's the biggest poker room in the state of Florida. Maybe you'll find yourself a seat right here at the final table.
Best Bet, where you can have the best of times. And that makes you always go home a winner. Try any of the 3 locations, and you can always visit bestbetjacks.com.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
Hey, it's a Friday on the Brent and Austen Show. We were talking about Alex Lodice, Dick Hauser Trophy Award winner. By the way, Buster Posey, J.D. Drew, the other 2 Florida State Seminoles that have won this. I mean, it's an unbelievable story. Hopefully we'll catch up with Alex in the next couple of weeks before mid-July and the Major League Baseball draft, where we anticipate him going. Probably one of a handful of players that will be drafted from Jacksonville in the top 75 picks, depending on their signability, including Trinity Christian pitcher Aaron Watson, who we've had on the show before. He's gone from Virginia commit to now a Florida commit, but will he end up going in the draft? We will see. Guys like Max Williams out of Florida State as well on that list. So although so much baseball talent around here, so much that could land and has already landed at a place like the University of North Florida. Nick Morrow, the athletic director for UNF, joins us here on a Friday. We're trying to break down this NCAA ruling and how it equates to UNF and what it all even means. There's so much to this that I think even Nick would admit they're still learning about, too, on some levels, even though they've digested it for a while. Marcel Robinson sitting in, Kasey Kuhrts doing all the hard work this week. We appreciate him and everybody. While Austin's down in fight camp in South Florida, he'll rejoin the show in the last hour of the show as well. All right. I look at life as a pie chart, probably too much, or like a bar graph. I'm not really sure. My mind operates that way, Nick, and I'm listening to you talk. And I'm like, all right, if you can get the bar graph of dollars up to where everybody else in the A-Sun is, it gives you a great chance to compete. Let's specifically say in basketball, because it's a one-bid league anyway. So even if people do raid your rosters, they're going to raid other people's rosters as well. So at least you feel like you're on somewhat of an even playing field if you can lift some of the dollars up specifically toward basketball. But you take sports like a softball or a baseball in this instance, because you don't have football, that you can really, and because a lot of the big schools, big programs are going to put probably the least amount of resources into sports like that relative to basketball and football, that maybe you can really compete at the bigger level and really grow those programs because you don't have to worry about football. I know you mentioned the Big East in the sport of basketball. You guys probably aren't going to become Gonzaga in basketball, if we're being real. It's really hard to do that right now. Gonzaga did that 25 years ago, and I'm not sure anybody else is doing it. But can you become Murray State in Coastal Carolina and end up in Omaha someday is a little bit more reasonable, even in this kind of climate. Do you think I have that right? Is that a decent kind of vision for you guys?
Absolutely. I mean, the Murray State story is great. Being a 4 seed, 800 seat stadium, like that is UNF, like what they've got going on. And so, as a matter of fact, our A-Sun conference champion was a 3 seed in their regional. Mm-hmm. When we went to softball regional, we were a 3 seed. So honestly, we could be in a better position than what Murray State just did. And they're not the only ones that have done it over the years. Think back to Fresno State, Coastal Carolina, who's now a national seed. But when they first won, they came up in a similar route. So there is a philosophical discussion on that, because basketball is going to be hard year to year, regardless of how much money you put into it. Because we're never going to put into it where we can pay $500,000, million per kid. And so we're always going to lose a handful of guys off the roster, most likely. And so you're basically creating a team year to year. Can you put all the pieces together to go after an A-Sun championship that particular year? While other programs, if you're investing a significant amount of money into scholarships and what they have to work with, you probably could sustain success. So Jeff Conrad, I didn't turn around and give him a bunch of money because he won the softball championship, because I don't have it, but we've invested a little bit more into him and his staff and his program, and obviously they're a really hot team right now, and the calls they're getting from kids in the transfer portal are pretty impressive. We're talking about starting Power 4 position players that have reached out saying, hey, you guys, I love the way you play, I love how much fun you had. Like, people took notice. So again, this is one of those opportunities that you got to kind of double down and take advantage of a team that's really hot so that you can sustain this year in and year out. And so there is that philosophical discussion is, do you put a little bit more into some of these other sports because they have a better chance of sustaining it? Now, with that said, you still have to compete in basketball, because that's the one sport that can generate more exposure than any other sport outside of football. Like, when you make that NCAA tournament, that's a whole different level of marketing value. Just look at what we did back in 2015. And you had Sarah Walsh walking through our campus, interviewing Coach Driscoll, floating in the lazy river with Bo Beach, doing an interview. That's millions and millions of dollars of advertising you cannot buy. And only the sport of basketball can do quite that.
Yeah, that's true. Marcel, I'll get to you in just a moment, but I've got this overarching question, Nick. If I'm the president at a lot of different schools, this might be careful because I'll never be the president, just let everybody know that, of any school. And I don't really think I want to. By the way, I blame the Power 4 presidents for a lot of the mess that we're in too. Not UNF. It's doing a great job. But I'm asking this question at a lot of different institutions, and I don't know where the cutoff is. At Florida, Florida State, you're always going to get money and boosters and TV revenue from football and all this stuff. From maybe UNF fits in this, or maybe D2's fit in this, I don't know. But if you're not careful with how much you use the transfer portal and why people are leaving, kids are leaving, are you running the risk at your dollars down the road being impacted? Because who's now loyal to X school to give back? I take Ashland University. They call me every year. If I was a millionaire, I'd be given more money. But sooner or later in your sports world, you're going to produce millionaire athletes that will give back for 40, 50, 60 years to your university. And I just wonder how cognizant people are right now of that while they're chasing championships and using the transfer portal just at this willy-nilly kind of looking way. Now, you said it. You guys have a good retention rate. That's a good thing. You also have used the transfer portal to your advantage, and a team like softball, they've done a great job with the transfer portal. How much – are there any conversations about that right now? Like, we need Joe Jr. here to be part of UNF because we might need his dollars someday to give back as an alum, and who's he going to be committed to or loyal to when that guy's raking in $4 million a year?
Yeah, that's definitely an untold story of the transfer portal. Is do these kids that are transferring every year, they don't have a home. That's a great thing about college athletics. When you step foot on campus, you have stepped into a built-in network that could take care of you literally the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. But if you're only there for a year and then you go to another school and then another school, there's no loyalty, there's no built-in network, people aren't going to take care of you down the road. And so that is a sad part of this that I think will have some long-term effects. Other untold story is how many kids go in the portal and never find a home. Like that story is not told enough. All we hear about the glamour stories of where they get paid and they go to a higher level, and so there's a lot of bad about transfer portals as well, and it is speed dating too. So, and from a coach's perspective, when you bring somebody in, what kind of kid are you bringing in? Because you don't have a lot of time to do your homework like you do high school recruiting, where you get to know the parents and the family and you watch them and watch their mannerisms as they compete and those kind of things to decide, okay, this is the character kid who also has the skill set that we're looking for. You don't have that opportunity because if you don't move fast in the transfer portal, another coach will, and you potentially lose out on them. So there's a lot more risk involved in the transfer portal as well. And I don't know certain situations within the basketball programs, but there are some that spent millions of dollars in NIL and missed the NCAA tournament. And that might be why. They might have brought in the wrong combination of guys that couldn't get along in the locker room, because that's the other thing. With all this money flying around, there's a locker room dynamic and say, man, you should be producing more. You're making $2 million. Mm-hmm. You ain't doing anything. You're shooting 30%. That's a dynamic. Mm-hmm. And how do you manage that as a basketball coach? So there's a lot of layers to this whole transfer portal world.
Yeah, sure.
Marcel, just a quick comment here. The one thing I like about this right now is I think accountability is back on the coaches and the administrators and the adults to some degree. If you're going to separate the pie and put X amount in this spot, you're going to be held accountable by the results and how much you're investing. As an AD for Nick or a president or whoever came up with those decisions. It also, because of the roster limits, is going to be more accountability, though you can get out of it, more accountability on recruiting and who you're bringing in and who you're using with the transfer portal. And right now, I think there's no accountability on a lot of higher ups at the biggest of institutions because they just erase it with more money. Like Texas Tech maybe is doing at the moment, but that's just my comment. I won't have Nick comment on that. Marcel, go ahead.
Well, the roster limit thing is interesting because you're going to see who the good coaches really are. Because if you only can bring in X number of athletes, like Power 4, a lot of times they'll just bring in a bunch of 4 and 5 stars and see who filters out into their starting lineup, and we're going to keep them and roll with them. Well, now they got to make decisions. Like we could go with a smaller sport like men's golf, who only has 9 now in their roster limit, but Florida Gator national championship team from a couple years ago had 14, 15 guys deep. And they just say, okay, let's see who filters out and creates this championship team. Well, now they got to pick their 9 and then they got to develop them. And so you're going to see who the real good coaches are. Now, the roster limit thing might take a few years to come into play fully, because that was part of the delay in the approval of the settlement, is there were a ton of objections against the roster limit. And so the judge made him go back and create a grandfathering in of roster limits. Because the original settlement was like, nope, you're at your roster limit come July 1, right? When we get going, you have to be at your limit. So a bunch of kids were being cut off rosters, or high school kids that had committed we weren't honoring their commitment anymore. And that was happening across the country to a point the judge was like, hold up, we need to grandfather this in. And so that was the delay, but now part of this. And so now each school, this is an honor system, which kind of makes me chuckle a little bit, honor system across NCAA athletics, that you have to designate your student athletes that would qualify as being grandfathered in. And so we have to submit a list by, I want to say July 6th, of our designated student athletes. And they don't count towards the roster limit. And so we're still going to be 3 or 4 years before everyone truly is at a roster limit. But when we get to that point, like coaches, you're going to see who the good coaches are and who aren't, because you got to make decisions and you have to develop them.
I just want to say I did not transfer. I went to UNF and I stayed all 4 years. I didn't play anything, but I just want to say I committed to driving across town to going to school. I'm not going to say every day, but I drove to school every day and did not transfer.
Well, we'll have you speak at the next commencement. Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Your options are limited.
That's right. But my question, I don't want to make a hard pivot, but and I know Brent wants to get to obviously the big change that we've had in the men's basketball program, and this might be a question maybe for coaches, but from one of the things that we always talk about, and you just mentioned, is about with UNF, when you're bringing kids in, you're preaching this is a home, we're going to make you feel at home, it's a family. But with the way all these things are changing, these new rules and legislations, it seems like the incoming kids, like the high school kids, they're not looking for home, they're looking for dollars. So in terms of, like you said, with the new amenities, just being able to kind of take care of them and give them that home feeling, where's the balance and I guess the challenge in that? Because a lot of times you say, hey, you come in here, we got new facilities, we're building this, we have this new field going in, and I guess the response for them is, well, that's cool. How much are you gonna pay me? Where's the challenge in that response?
Yeah. Most of our sports, we don't get that question right now, which is good. Now, we do get, okay, you doing cost of attendance, or you do an Austen Award, how big of a scholarship? And that's where we've got to invest more in scholarship dollars to be able to recruit, a higher level student athlete from that perspective. It is really hard for high school students to go to that Power 4 level. You have to be pretty special, especially with the roster limit situation right now, and especially with the unlimited transfers. Again, Power 4 is going to keep recruiting at every sport into the mid-major first. And then with limited roster spots, it is harder than ever to be a high school student athlete and find a home at Division I athletics. The opportunities have been cut back in the way just recruiting works. And so, depending on the sport, it's not a bad idea to go, a low to mid-major Division I or even Division II, play a lot, become an all-conference player, because then all of a sudden you're immediately going to be on the radar for Power 4. Mm-hmm. So if that's your ultimate goal, is to be a Power 4 student athlete, that's not a bad approach. Go to a low mid-major, play a lot, Division II, play a lot, get on that all-conference team, get your stats up, and then you are going to be more marketable and more, people are going to pay more attention to you at that point.
Yeah, I think that's a good call too, Nick. I just saw this morning, North Carolina just took a shortstop in the portal who went to North Dakota State. And North Carolina has been very good in baseball. They paid this kid; he's a shortstop, and they said, "Hey, we saw him do it at North Dakota State." And in my mind, I'm like, "Who cares if he did it at North Dakota State? It's not going to translate to the ACC, But obviously, they saw some things, and in many respects, this is what I hate. This is what was, and I'll use Lodis as an example. You guys offer Lodis, you find Lodis, and it's and good for the kid. This has nothing to do with Lodis made a right move, and no doubt about it. But for you guys, it's wait, we found the kid. You guys missed on the kid. Right. You guys missed him, and you don't want to take the time to develop him, and you get him. I guess it's just the nature of life, it is, but it sucks. That part to me sucks, because there's no reward for the school that gave the kid the chance and found him, unless someday he does give back to the university and remembers that. And hopefully they do. But I guess, is that a cry a little bit from either D2s or D3s or JUCOs, or, well, not JUCOs probably, but a UNFs of the world where could we see a formula someday where if you come rate us, we get a percentage or we get some kind of, I don't want to call it a kickback, that sounds illegal, but like some kind of dollar amount for us finding a finder's fee, if you will?
I would love a good old transfer fee. Let's take a European soccer model and get that transfer fee going. That would be great. I don't think that's realistic, but I think what could be realistic, and this is kind of a topic that's been picking up lately, is as part of revenue sharing, you are entering into an agreement with student athletes. They're basically independent contractors for the university, not employees, but independent contractors when you enter into these revenue sharing agreements. So student athletes are going to have a scholarship agreement and they're going to have a revenue sharing agreement side by side. Revenue sharing agreement, that's what we're trying to figure out. Like, okay, what all can we put in there to protect us so they don't transfer or they think twice before transferring? Can we put basically a buyout in the contract? So if you go leave this school, then you owe us back $50,000 or $100,000 or 50% of whatever we gave you. I think you're going to see that if people can get away with it. And I think they can because you're entering into a contract and agreement. So if you have a multi-year agreement with a student athlete to pay them X amount for doing X deliverables, and then all of a sudden you put a clause in there, well, if you transfer or you enter the transfer portal, then this is what we get back. Or we'll hold payment. Like we talked about structuring revenue sharing agreements to say, okay, you'll get one payment this month, and then the next one we won't give you until the transfer portal closes. And then that encourages retention, or if they decide to go, well, at least we didn't spend money on that individual that we didn't need to. And so you're going to see a lot of that and a lot of discussions related to that now that universities are entering into contracts directly with student athletes.
All right, I got lightning round because we got to get you out of here in 6-7 minutes. You got an appointment to be at 12:30. Appreciate all your insight, and I won't make you late. I promise. So fast. Is this our model for the next 20 years, 30 years, or is this going to continue to evolve? I mean, is this it?
So this settlement's a 10-year agreement, and so we're locked into this for the next 10 years. And this is law now. This is the other thing that's kind of interesting, is that this is law now. A judge ruled on this model and what we're doing. This isn't an NCAA bylaw that somebody would violate anymore. This is a whole new level. And another thing that's not talked about a lot yet is the College Sports Commission has now been created. This is a separate arm from the NCAA that's enforcing all these rules. The NCAA is not enforcing these anymore. They won't come down with the penalties. The College Sports Commission is, and they just hired a former Major League Baseball exec to run this. Yeah. And so that's going to be really interesting to see how that goes. Another thing is third-party NIL deals. So those that are outside the university have to go through this new system powered by Deloitte called NIL Go. And every agreement over $600 has to go through here, whether you opt in or out of this model. And it kicks back whether it's an approved agreement or not. So you're going to see agreements that literally get denied because they don't match market value, the deliverables, and what the kid's getting paid don't all line up. And so Deloitte went and talked to the SEC presidents or ADs a few weeks ago and basically said 70% of the deals that are out there right now will not get approved in the new model. Wow. And so we might have peaked in terms of the amount of money that's out there right now. Because
do you trust those guys? Do you trust that? Do you think do you think the college world trusts Deloitte? And by the way, if you're looking for a job, Deloitte probably has some openings right now.
Yeah, there's some skepticism about the system, of course, because it's new and we don't really know how it's going to work. And does that trigger the next lawsuit the first time one of these multi-million-dollar deals get denied? Say, wait, you can't tell me what fair market value is. And so that'll be something to watch. But the Power 4 ADs and president, they want this because this will rein in the amount of money that's flying through the system. This will rein in the pay for play and some of the shadier behavior that's out there. That's what this system's supposed to do. And so that's why I think we have peaked. I think we peaked for several reasons. One, because of the system. Two, I think there's going to be those donors, the earlier point that you made, that aren't going to want to keep dumping money into NIL to go 2 and 10, and then they're like, wait a minute, I gave you $400,000 for a line that can't block anything, and so I'm not going to give you $500 this year to go get those kind of guys. And so I think that's going to slow down. I think the system is going to temper it a little bit. And so that's why, but to answer your question, this is our model for the next 10 years. It will constantly evolve. The governance structure is going to change a little bit. And and it's just going to be interesting to see what's next. But this is just getting the carousel moving. We're just getting going.
You might have said this. Is UNF opted in? Have you guys opted in, or will there be some time before you opt in?
So it was originally June 15th was the deadline. They pushed to June 30th because of the late decision. They're supposed to be sending out a 51-page question and answer document related to the settlement that it's going to provide more clarity on some questions that we have. Odds are we will opt in for this upcoming year because of the whole grandfathering in roster spots, because then we don't have to cut student athletes to get down to the roster limit. So we will likely opt in, but we're waiting for that 51-pager to make sure there's nothing in there that gives us some concern.
And this is a question for like Kasey and Marcel and people swooping all over the place that love the University of North Florida. As the athletic director, do you feel like you guys are in a pretty good spot right now or hanging on for dear life? And I guess the follow-up would be, how much time before you're in the spot that you're happy with? Like, is it 5 years or feel good about? Like, what's your vision as the AD when it comes to that?
We're hanging on for dear life right now. Put together a plan that can make us the best in the conference and really help us elevate. If we deliver on that plan, in the next 3 years, we'll be at a position where we're handing out a substantial amount more of scholarship money and really being able to get into the financial support side of things that ultimately makes you better. At the end of the day, that's the most important asset is what you can offer in scholarship dollars, Austen Award, revenue sharing. That's going to help you get that next level recruit, whether that's high school or transfer portal. And so we've got a plan that we've kind of mapped out. It kind of goes hand in hand with, okay, what's enrollment doing at UNF? Because we're projected to go to 25,000 students by 2028. That's tremendous growth. That's a huge part of this plan because 60% of our revenue is student fee dependent. And then also, what kind of funding are we getting? Not from a state perspective as much as philanthropic support. What other, are people buying tickets? Are they doing corporate sponsorships? So it's a combination of pools of revenue to get where we need to be, but we're trending in the right direction. I think we've got a solid plan, and so I'm still bullish on it. I've been here for 14 years now at UNF, 4 as AD. That's a long time in college athletics to be in one spot, but I'm just excited every day to get up and go after that plan because I just know what UNF can be, not just in this region, but nationally. And I want to be, this being my hometown too. Like I want to help us get there.
Yeah, well, you've done a good job. I know just in our conversations, it's not like you guys were blindsided by this. You guys have had plans in place and everything else. The way to juice all that up is basketball. A huge change with Coach Driscoll out going to Kansas State, Bobby Kennan in. I guess just some quick thoughts. And were you able, I think you're still in a window where guys can leave. How's the retention there for this basketball team that had a pretty nice recruiting class coming in, which has had pretty nice recruiting classes for a long time, and then develop these guys. But obviously that would help Bobby in this interim year.
Yeah. So Bobby Kennan, that was his first test. I said, all right, Bobby, this is your show now. Let's see what you can do with it. Can you retain our entire roster where nobody goes into the transfer portal? And he's done it. So he's passed the first test with flying colors. Like he said, the 30 days aren't quite up, but we already have a handful of student athletes on campus now training, and the rest of them come in a little over a week. And then we're doing our full 6 weeks of training with the entire team. And so feel good that we're going to have that entire roster intact. And that was one of the first challenges he had. We're working on the coaching staff and backfilling a couple positions, but you'll have some recognizable names on our staff, which is going to be exciting. And I think our fans are going to be really excited about as well, that are going to come back and support Coach Kennan, and we'll be off and running. I'm really excited to see what he can do, because everybody knows Bobby Kennan is the assistant coach. Tremendous guy, been there all 16 years, will run a same program from in terms of character, integrity. But who is Bobby Kennan as a head coach? And that's really what we've got to figure out, and we don't have a long runway to figure that out, but he's ready for it. He's been ready for this opportunity, and so I'm excited to see what he can do.
Marcel, you write your alumni check for $36.42 to the new rev share model, or what?
You moved the decimal place to the wrong spot. Come on now, I'm $3,600 over here. Come on now.
Hey, Nick, you're really good at this stuff. Appreciate you layman's terming this. It's complicated, but it's fascinating, and this reaches everybody. It reaches you guys who have current positions, all the Osprey folks that have supported the program, proud you saw a lot of these guys come out of the woodwork, or folks come out of the woodwork with a softball run that you probably didn't even know were still cheering on the Ospreys. And then moms and dads and everybody across the sports landscape, even us in the media. So I know it's complicated, but appreciate the time. And I guess go smell a Colby tomorrow night, right?
Tomorrow night, 10:16 on ESPN, going for a national championship. And so that's exciting. And Jeff Conrad's got a really good story about when he was at the Columbia Regional. He saw a guy just wearing a UNF shirt, didn't recognize him, went up to him. He goes, "Hey, who are you?" He goes, "Oh, just a UNF fan. I live in Columbia. I just wanted to put on my shirt and come cheer on the Ospreys." And so that's the kind of impact and that an athletic department can have and spreading that joy. But I'm happy to come on at any point. Like, this is wild times in college athletics. It's not going to slow down anytime soon. And I think the biggest thing is people need to be educated on it and what it means for college athletics landscape and what it specifically means for UNF.
Great work. Appreciate it, man. Have a great weekend. Go win a soccer tournament if you got one.
3v3 this weekend. You're right. So I got. All right. Take care. Right. Appreciate it.
That's Nick Morrow, the athletic director of the University of North Florida. Back with more with Kasey and Marcel and Austen scheduled to join us as well. I'm not even sure if I'm scheduled to join the rest of the way, but very informative hour with Nick Morrow from the University of North Florida. Welcome inside the Armor Guard exterior and gutter helmet showroom. There's a lot going on, like glass exteriors, replacement windows, and down there we have the retractable screens and awnings, plus hurricane protection. Let's talk more about those gutters, and to do that, we bring in Kevin. He's the owner, he's the expert. Why Gutter Helmet?
Well, Gutter Helmet is truly the only maintenance-free product. It lets the trash and debris go on the ground, the water wraps around and goes inside. Unlike filters, they sit on top of the gutters, and the trash and debris build up on top of filters, which requires maintenance. With Gutter Helmet, we're going to keep you off the ladder, the most dangerous thing in your garage. With Gutter Helmet, you'll never clean your gutters again. So get off the ladder and put on the helmet. Gutter Helmet.
Get a free estimate at gutterhelmetofnorthflorida.com. You can also call 904-762-7779 or visit the showroom on St. John's Bluff Road in Jacksonville.
Empower a future, inspire a dream. It's a bold but simple mission for the Jacksonville Police Athletic League known as Jax PAL. Help the next generation of kids in Jacksonville shape a brighter future. Their after-school programs, teenage leadership programs. There's community outreach.
It's been just an awesome opportunity to be out here with my colleagues and do something good for the community. It's really been an interesting opportunity to just see everybody work together in a way that we don't normally in the office.
And there's sports. There are also ways you can help the next generation with a donation of any kind. Just visit jaxpal.org to get more information. Empower a future, inspire a dream with Jax PAL.
It's the Kingfish Tournament for the entire family. The 2025 Daly's Old School Kingfish Shootout presented by Yellowfin. What makes the Old School better than the rest? Cash payout to the top 25 places, lady and junior angler divisions, no bait buying, and limited boundaries. It's coming up this week, Saturday, June 14th, so make sure to get in and enter now. OldSchoolKingfish.com for all the details, fishing fun for the entire family, and a $125,000 Yellowfin bay boat on the line. OldSchoolKingfish.com.
The rhythm of my heart is beating like a drum, with we are more rolling off our tongues. Never will we roam, for we know our place is down. Where the ocean meets the skies, we be sailing. Where the ocean meets the skies, we be sailing.
Baker's Sports. It's a hometown business filled with hometown people trying to make you feel right at home.
Chris Conley, Jacksonville University.
Walker Wright, class of 2018, West Nassau High School.
Michael Young, Fletcher High School.
Baker's Sports started in a grassroots way and now outfits much of the Southeast.
Will Olive, Mandarin High School. Go Stangs.
High school sports, travel sports, youth sports of all kinds. They are a one-stop shop carrying Nike, Adidas, Under Armour brands, and more.
Vincent Caldes, Oakleaf High School.
Tony Mazzio, Sandwood High School, class of 2002.
Samuel Coffrin, Paxton School for Advanced Studies.
Whether it's sports teams on the field or it's your team in the workplace, like our Action Sports Jacks team, and community events like the Dream 18 Golf Tournament, and many others.
Colt Tilly, Hilliard High School.
Reagan Webb, Eagles View Academy.
Look good, feel good, play good with Baker Sports. Custom sports apparel since 1997. Shop with the hometown team at bakersport.com.
Sun's out, suits out. That's right, it's summertime in Florida, which means it's time to say goodbye to bulking season and hello to shredding season. But if you're like me, you're having a hard time sculpting and shaping those final pounds. That is until I came and saw my friends over at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Right now, everyone is hopping on the Evolve X train, and the only destination is finding your perfect summer body. The technology uses electrical muscle stimulation and radio frequency energy to cause your muscles to contract, all while heating up those deep layers of your skin and tissue to produce collagen and reduce fat. It's like doing 1,000 sit-ups in 30 minutes. No pain, no needles, just results, right? That's right. So leave those winter layers back at the station and come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
Yikes. Yikes.
Yeah, what was Brent saying about it being a nice summer day in Jacksonville?
Yeah, this is crazy work. Like, it was sunny, and this is this don't look good. Now, this is crazy, the light or the sun coming off the building right there.
Beaming.
This is some wild work right there. I wanted to get that in because if you are out there on the roads or you're at home or at work, you're about to cut out, hey, heads up out there. You might need umbrella.
Hunker down.
Hunker down. Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. Brent gone. We got rid of him.
He gone.
Nick Morrow, in a nice way, we got rid of him. He had somewhere else to be.
Mm-hmm.
You guys held it down with an hour of college, NIL, the world we're living in talk.
Wild, wild west, man.
It is. It's and Nick Morrow, man. We say it a lot, but tough job.
Yeah, I tell them all the time. It's like, man, I don't envy you. I think they're doing a pretty good job, and they've gotten a lot of things buttoned up. But you know, I don't think it's far fetched to say that more people have more questions than answers. But
oh yeah,
you know, he does have a good amount of answers, which is good because that means that they're, you know, they got the right mindset in the headspace. So I know, especially like for me, like I have a high school athlete that, you know, will be kind of, regardless of what she does, but we'll be entering that world very soon, and it's kind of one of those where like you don't know. So
yeah, no, it's real. And the part that fascinates me the most is, and you guys talked about it a little bit, is like if you're Cincinnati, right? University of Cincinnati, that's the example I give here, right?
Sure.
You, like Nick said, you got to play football,
right?
But you ain't recruiting Arch Manning. You got to play basketball.
Yeah.
You ain't bringing in Cooper Flagg. I wonder, like, if I'm the AD, and I have no experience, not qualified, can't even do this, right? But, like, to me, I feel like I'd be like, all right, we'll play the games, we'll get the checks or whatever. I feel like I would identify a softball, a baseball, a sport that I could potentially win a national championship in, and I'd throw a ridiculous amount of NIL there. Similar to the Texas Tech softball thing. I feel like that's the way to go.
Yeah, I mean,
if you only have like Texas Tech's different because
Sure.
they got money everywhere,
right?
I feel like that's what I would do.
Yeah, I think, and I think kind of Nick alluded to it a little bit. It's really just like I mean, we live in an analytics world, so it is kind of analytical, right? You figure out sort of where like you get the most return. You know, obviously, like that was one of the reasons why I threw out like the Florida situation. Like you got football is always going to be king, right? And they got a lot of momentum and everything. Lagway, Heisman, whatever, all the hype and stuff like that. But your basketball team is coming off a national championship, so it's like it would be crazy to not capitalize on that momentum, especially when you've got guys saying, "Hey, I want to come back. I'm coming back. I'm coming back." Who's to say someone from I don't know, just throw it out there like Duke isn't gonna try to throw a bag at one of your guys. So It's like it's not a situation that I envy for him at all. But I think it's definitely going to be subjective depending on each particular university. You kind of figure out where you get in, where you fit in, and try some things.
I think it's a great point on Florida because, and you said it, like, Billy Napier, bro, you just done okay. And, like, you go one street down at the University of Florida, and Todd Golden is one of the highest rising. Like, you're going to have to – I understand he signed a deal, but that doesn't matter. Like, you're going to have to keep him away from the big-time schools.
Sure.
And all the stuff that's going there. And, listen, with some side business stuff I was doing, I talked to Thomas Houck on Monday, and I was like, what's the vibe? He's like, it's a better vibe than last year. And last year they won a damn national championship. Now, granted, a lot of that vibe is coming off the national championship. I get that.
Of course.
But they feel like they're just as good, if not better. And that's good for obviously good for Florida. Not necessarily good for you as a Georgia fan.
It's okay.
You got them in football for sure.
That's right.
But that'll be an interesting thing, I think, to follow because if Florida's football team isn't very good, how do they handle that situation when the basketball team, it appears to be very, very good. You brought up your daughter a little bit. I wanted to ask you about the shirt.
Oh, yeah. Come on now.
Everyone watches women's sports. Is that what we're seeing here? Okay.
Come on now.
Talk me through. I not necessarily how you found it, but like, talk me through some of what's going on here.
Well, it's no stranger, or it's not a strange topic. Like anyone who I've talked to, I'm always talking about my daughter. She's been playing soccer for a little bit. We're heading into high school now, and she's been doing some club soccer stuff. And the craziest thing is that as she's grown, like as an athlete, naturally my involvement and appreciation for women's sports in general has blossomed. I mean, you hear me talking about the WNBA all the time.
Oh yeah.
I love the WNBA. Like I lock in. We had a very there was a moment when Game 3 of the finals was on. Start tip was at 8:30 between Oklahoma City and Indiana. Sparks and Aces were playing at 10 o'clock, and I had to make a decision about what we're gonna do here. But yeah, I just feel like I mean, the sports that we watch, the women's sports, it's never been, the product has never been better, truthfully. And I'm not just talking about basketball. I'm talking about everything in general. I'm locked in on Coco golf, on the tennis court, obviously we have, everything in track and field. I mean, if you watch any of the Grand Slam track that they've been doing, you got Sid out there doing her thing. Let's be honest, the women's soccer national team, the product is just better. They're better than watching the men's.
Definitely.
And I just feel like we got to do our part, man. As us as men, especially me. I've been an athlete all my life, and I just feel like we got to do our part and help these ladies out. So the shirt, I've actually had it for like a month. I've only worn it a couple times. I think I wore it this past Saturday maybe, but it's just one of them things. Like one of the things that I do every Tuesday, and I'm paying for it right now, but every Tuesday, my daughter's soccer team, they have like a handful of girls from their team, like the core group of their girls, like they want to get better. Okay. And I think that, with our, especially our younger girls coming up, like they don't get as many of those opportunities as our boys do to go out there and just train and stuff like that. Sure, there are trainers out there, but I mean, the percentage is wild. It's different. So we go out every Tuesday and I put them through it. Agility training, speed training. I went and bought like this speed bag. It said you're only supposed to put like 35 pounds in it. Bro, I filled that thing up to 75. We're running 40 yards down the field, backpedaling 40 yards right after. This past Tuesday we were training, and I was doing a little goalkeeper for them, doing some PKs, and we've been doing it all summer, and it's like they're getting really freaking good. Like when we started, and I'm an athletic guy, so I was getting a lot of stops. I swear they might have, like all of them, they might have went like 85% in goal. Matter of fact, no, probably 90. Yeah, one of the girls, shout out to Piper. She hit a PK on me, opened up hips left, ball went behind me, kicked back right. I got the save technically, but it trickled in. And she kicked this ball so hard, I'm not even kidding you. My leg swept around my entire body, had me sitting on the ground with my legs crossed, looking real cute, and I was hurting for a little bit. So I'm kind of battling, but yeah, man. Shout out to the women's sports, man. Shout out to all the girls from the team that come out for training. I don't want to miss anybody that came out Tuesday. Who we got? We got Caitlin, Piper, Viv, of course, my daughter Ariana. She'll kill me, and we got Caitlin's brother Tyler that comes out there as well. So shout out to the women's sports, man. Everybody come on, show these ladies some love.
Listen, you have me. I knew you were a supporter, right? But we're to take you behind the scenes.
Yep.
Marcel directs the Armada games and does an unbelievable job. I do a semi-okay job at producing. Right?
Nah.
Marcel's working every second of those 90 minutes. If you're watching the games on network, every second Marcel's locked in. Half the time I'm just trying to figure out who may score so I could type up a super. Right? I don't got as much going on. But anyway, so before we're watching, we got the TVs on in there. And you naming every player on the court in a WNBA game that, Caitlin Clark was in the game. But, everybody else, you had it on lock. And I was like, I didn't realize that it was a full-time – this ain't a game.
I'm telling you. Shout out to Courtney Williams from folks in Charlton County. She plays for the Minnesota Lynx now.
That's what I'm talking about.
We got some talent. You got to watch the dub, man. I'm telling you, the Liberty.
I've watched it more than I ever. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm watching every day because I'm not. But I have watched it more, and I feel like a lot of people are going to say this. But it's not just the Caitlin Clark part of it. Nope. If it's on, I'll watch.
You should. I'm telling you. I've said this. I said this before she got drafted. I said it last year. Paige Beckers is a better player than Caitlin Clark. Nothing against Caitlin, but Paige Beckers, dog. Absolute dog.
Yeah, she's really good.
Absolute dog.
With that, have you? I believe they've only been on ESPN once so far. But the new softball, have you caught any of this? There's a softball league backed by Major League Baseball. It's going to have some games on ESPN. There's only been one, so probably working. But are you excited about this? I know Terry Norvell from the Young and Norvell show is very excited about the women's softball because, again, man, softball is played at such a high level and it's so fast. I think this is a good thing. I'm going to tune into it. I don't know if you are interested in it or anything like that, but it's cool. I like it.
I love any opportunity that the ladies get to kind of get that exposure in the sports arena. I love it. And I'm with you, man. I love the softball women's tournament, the college tournament,
we were talking about
more than baseball.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's just a different pace. It's not necessarily a different game, but it's a different pace, right? I was locked into every pitch. Oklahoma finding ways to win it. We talked the formerly Oklahoma softball invitational. Obviously, they took a nail this year, but it's cool. I mean, even with the NCAA tournament, the women's tournament, I probably lock into the women's tournament more than the men. And it had nothing to do with the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese stuff. It's just cool, and I think some of that is that. Because there's so many more professional opportunities for the men, I think the women, when it comes to the softball, it's if you're in college baseball, you might get drafted. Get in the farm program, go to Major League, whatever. With a lot of these girls, man, that's it, bro. So they appreciate it a little bit more. Yeah, same thing with basketball. The women's tournament is crazy because so much talent out there, and they might not get drafted, but it's good stuff to watch. Even from Caitlin Clark's Indiana team. Obviously, Kate Martin and Caitlin Clark, those were the two that kind of, the big names they got drafted. Of course, Kate Martin, who, by the way, is absolutely turning into an absolute ball player over there with Golden State Valkyries, the new expansion team for the WNBA. But
that's a good story, right? Because she was drafted kind of low, and then she kind of worked her way in last year, and now she's a star.
Yeah, well, the problem with Kate Martin is that she got drafted to the Aces, who were the best team in the freaking league. They had Kelsey Plum, they had Asia Wilson, Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young, and of course Becky Hammond, obviously coaching them. So good story for her. Good for them. The Valkyries are kind of figuring it out on the WNBA front. I always love when the expansion team comes in there and makes some noise. So, but yeah, it's good stuff, man.
For sure. We do have to break again, and we'll do some more Jags close the show. But before we do that, you mentioned the NBA Finals. Last time you were on, we were arguing about the Knicks. As it turns out, I was wrong. The Knicks weren't that good. A lot of people thought that OKC was just going to
I thought they'd win in 6.
take care of it. I heard people saying even after game 1, it's going to be in 5.
Nah.
You still think it's going to be in 6, or are you leaning towards Indiana because they keep figuring out how to get it done?
I think if OKC wins it, it has to be in 7. Otherwise, Indiana will win it in 6. I think that.
Yeah. Indiana, man, I don't want to say out of nowhere because that's not fair, but I don't think anybody at the start of the playoffs would have picked Indiana.
They started figuring it out, these clutch buckets, these clutch buckets, man. And credit to the Knicks, by the way, because they choked away so much and it gave the Pacers, they already had confidence.
Right.
But you get such a confidence boost where you walk in like, hey, man, we down 20 and we won. Bro, they can't touch us. I mean, even the Oklahoma City game down, they were down 14-15, and they came back and won. Yeah. It's like, yo, we ain't got to worry about nothing. When we get down 20, it's like, bro, let's just hoop. And that's what they do. They run the floor. They control the tempo. They miss shots. Doesn't matter. They get out physical. You know, I'm loving the Miles Turner battle with whoever down there. Like, they don't get out of their game. And when it comes to especially basketball, the team that gets out of their game first is typically the one that loses. When they start changing stuff, like I hated the fact that Oklahoma City changed up their lineup, their starting five when the series started, because it shows like Indiana, like, yo, they already making adjustments.
Yeah.
They ain't even seen us on the court yet. And it's like
mentality.
Indiana's just doing their thing. And shout out to Tyrese Halliburton. Dude's going off.
Dude is going off out of nowhere. Always talented, but turning into a star, which is, listen, what you get in the NBA playoffs and the NBA Finals specifically. Did you happen to watch the Stanley Cup game last night? Every time I bring up hockey to anybody around here, it's always a no. So if it's no, we can just move.
Yo, I watched the first two periods, which is absolutely nuts. It was like a tale. I mean, there's obviously I only watched the first two, but it's like a tale of two periods. Like, I'm watching the Panthers do whatever they want, go up 3-0, first intermission. I'm like, yo, this might be a wrap, bro. Come back, Edmonton scores. All right, that's fine. They probably get one. Scored again. I was like, all right, I better settle in. And we're tied up. I'm like, yo, you got to be kidding me. I was like, Florida is definitely going to lose this game. You go up 3-0.
Yeah,
they give you 3 back. Now you're on the ropes a little bit, right? You're like you're in your head. I was like, this game's over. It's over.
Yeah. Listen, it's so good. And like every time I try to talk to somebody, I'm like, Brent, did you watch? He's like, nope. I'm like, all right, cool. My Hamby, did you check it out? He's like, nope. I'm like, all right, damn. Young and Norvell show. I'm like, Terry, you caught it? Nope. Okay. Well, then no one talk hockey. But I mean, to your point, man, you go up 3-0, you feel like you're gonna win. You give it all back. They take the lead late in the day, being Edmonton. And with 19 seconds, Florida ties it up, and you're like, holy cow.
Maybe.
And then you go to overtime and lose.
Yep.
That's brutal.
That's it.
And listen, I hate the Florida Panthers. Hamby's burner. I haven't seen you in there talking nothing about the Panthers today. That don't surprise me because, you know, the one Panthers fan in America, Hamby's burner, ain't got nothing to say today because the Florida Panthers couldn't get it done.
Ooh.
But just high quality stuff in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. We will close out the show talking Jags, but as we go to break, mention the Armada. You can watch them on Saturday, and this is why you should. These are the standings right now for the Armada men.
Top of the table, baby.
Them boys 5-0.
Come on now. Talk to them.
We at no point yet, knock on wood. Whoa. Microphone going crazy.
Don't worry about it.
We at no point yet have had to figure out how to do a post game with a loss. We ain't had to worry about, or even a draw, right? 5-0, top of the table. You can watch the game. Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. Marcel will be directing it. I will be producing it. Stuart Weber will be calling it.
In the words of French Montana, we ain't worried about nothing.
We ain't worried about nothing as the Jacksonville Armada. 7 o'clock, you can watch it on Saturday. We close out the show. Coming up next with Jags Talk, Jags Conversation, and a conversation with Jags rookie Caleb Ransaw. We do that before we get out of here at 1 o'clock today.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. The most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade.
The schedules are out for another summer of soccer here in Jacksonville with the Armada men's and women's under-23 squads, starting with the ladies and the home opener on May 24th. 2 weeks later, they're back in Northeast Florida for a June 7th matchup. The season wraps up with a pair of Friday night home matches June 20th and the 27th. As for the boys in blue, they debut against a couple league newcomers on May 9th and 17th respectively, with more home dates on May 31st, June 14th, and June 21st. All those matches are at Edward Waters University, and you can watch them live on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can get a free Connecticut reverse osmosis system with the purchase of a Connecticut Premier Softener. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
It's fast-paced.
Hands off on first down, and there goes Edward Vander.
High fly.
Wide open receiver. It's caught.
Action-packed. Weekend fun. Fun for the entire family. It's the Jacksonville Sharks.
I feel like anybody could play in this league. It's gonna be like backyard football, right?
Whoa! This ain't the Arena League, Brent. This is the indoor league, and they play defense here.
It's a lot safer to just watch the professionals play. And watching is a lot of fun. A party in the stands at the arena for kids and adults. And it's indoors. Get out of the heat for the summer and watch the Sharks shine inside. Jacksonville Sharks football, season number 15. It's the Drive for 5, and it's still alive. Get your tickets at jacksharks.com.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Olivia Tasley just sent me this from the Jaguars on Instagram. Rookie fishing trip. Travis Hunter was probably fired up. Big time fisherman, Travis Hunter is.
Boy's like a kid in a candy store.
They all look, for the most part, excited. Travis Hunter got the smile on his face. Shout out to Salt Life, I guess, for making that happen. I am intrigued here by the footwear situation.
Oh, yeah, big Birkenstock group.
A lot of Birkenstock, couple of pairs of
I see some sneakers.
tennis shoes.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what we're doing there
Yeah.
fully, but that was the Jags rookies.
My man with the toe thongs, yep.
Oh, yeah,
It's a bad move.
It's an interesting group right here.
It's a bold move, Cotton.
This is an interesting group of football players. Austen Lane, I see you in there. Did you guys have a rookies fishing experience or something along the line when you were drafted, or is this a new thing here in Jacksonville? Oh, Austen.
I'm going to hit him with the Gene. You're on mute. Maybe. I just wanted to say that.
Hold on. We're going to do this.
TBD.
We're going to figure this out. I don't. I see Austin's got levels. I definitely copy and pasted the new link. Connection is golden. Connection earlier was somewhat questionable.
Mic check.
Oh!
Hey, there we go.
What up, guy?
Hey, Kasey, can you put my picture on there, or is it still kind of blurry? Because I'm feeling fresh up in here. Oh, I'm feeling fresh, Kasey. I mean,
Okay.
I'm sweaty.
Okay.
I'm sweaty, but I'm fresh.
Hey, that boy came in like he got a new cut.
Oh no, man, it's just sweat and hard work there, Marcel. No, we didn't have any kind of like rookie like fun excursion. I mean, we did go to the Ronald McDonald house, which was cool. But everyone knew that I had a fear of clowns, so Ronald McDonald stuck up behind me and tried to scare me.
Nope.
And in doing so, I almost turned around and like elbowed him in front of the children. So thankfully, like I was still calm enough to not elbow him, but it was close, Kasey.
Huh. That's crazy work. Scared of clowns, huh?
I don't mess with clowns now.
I mean, I'm not scared of clowns, but I don't particularly care for them because I always feel like they got the poor bad intentions. So like I'm not afraid of them, but like if I see a clown, I probably don't trust them. Just to be real.
Interesting.
There's two jobs I don't really understand. I don't understand like the job to be a clown, like what inspired you to be a clown, and what inspired you to be like a urine tester as well. I don't understand like what inspired you to do that.
Well, that's a pivot.
I mean, those two things are not the same at all.
We talked about it before, but like the last time I got drug tested, I even asked the guy, I'm like, dude, I got to ask you, like, what made you get in this line of work? He goes, I'm going to be honest. I needed the money and it's got good benefits. I go, okay, man.
Like so many odd jobs, it's the same origin story. It's like, you know what? I needed a couple dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's just that. I wonder what that pay. Like, did urine tester 1 get paid well? Like,
he didn't say that. He kind of makes his own hours, so like that I guess is cool. But he's been in the game. He told me for like 20 years.
No,
which is great. Yeah, bro.
You telling me my man got a 401k from testing piss?
Bro,
come on, man. Come on now.
My dude is like the Dick Vitale of like urine testers. You know what I'm saying? Like this dude's been at it.
You telling me my dog's sending folks to universities off urine?
Right.
Come on, man.
So, listen, according to ZipRecruiter in the state of Florida, the annual salary for a drug test technician, $44,837.
All right, now.
Okay, so then you put 20 years on top of that. You're vested. I mean, are we pulling 6 digits? Are we pulling 6 figures?
If you tell me that someone that tests urine is making 6 figures, I would take these headphones off and walk out right now.
I mean,
100%. Straight up.
You're willing,
forget a passion project for Marcel, bro.
You'll never see me on TV again.
Listen, if you're willing to stay in the drug test game for a good little bit, like it'll work out for you. And listen, I still might have a chance to change my career because I don't think I'm getting $44,000 from Brent's LLC company. So might have to check into what those opportunities.
Casey's gonna hit up that ZipRecruiter. I like it.
Hey, I got it right here on the computer. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure Cox Media is gonna like seeing people apply for jobs right here and now, but
Kasey,
we'll make it happen.
Do you know what I want for you, bro? I want you in 5 years. I mean, like, hopefully this all works out, right? Because you're good at what you do here. But say it doesn't work out, and if you actually become like, a urine tester or whatever, bro, if we could shoot a commercial and be like, hey, what up? It's Kasey, man. If you need a drug test, I got something like that. You know
advertise on the show.
You know what's funny? I could see that, and I could see Kasey walking around with a nice like hat with the text on there: "Clean piss, don't miss."
That'll work.
Come on now.
That's good.
Sounds like he's gonna be like the LeVar Ball of piss takers, but okay, I got you. Piss testers.
Undefeated, never lost. As long as I still got both legs.
Come on now.
All right, LeVar Ball. He's going through a tough time right now. On the back to the clown thing, real quick. I'm not scared of clowns. Now, granted, like I'd never really had any experience with clowns. Like I seen It, the clown. Pennywise, kind of scary.
Sure.
I don't understand. Like I've never understood people have like a lot of Amanda's scared of clowns. You guys don't like don't love clowns. I just never understand how you get to that point. Like me, terrified of snakes. We did this the other day, but like I've never been on the same page with clowns. I don't know why. Like I've always been, I guess, hanging out with the clowns. I got no problem.
Yeah, for me, man, it's just like I remember being a kid and like God bless my mom. She tried her hardest. But like my 4th or 5th grade, like my 4th, I think I was 5 years old, my 5th birthday party, she hired a clown. And dude, like, me, like I'm even at 5 years old, like I try to make people comfortable, even though I'm not comfortable, right? I'm trying to be like hospitable. So like this clown gets there, bro. And like, I know Craigslist wasn't a thing back then, but my mom must have like went to the mall parking lot, saw this dude and said, "Hey, I'm gonna give you $20. Come to my son's birthday party." Because this dude was, he was the C squad of clowns. And bro, I remember being frightened the whole time, but like trying to be encouraging as well. And I feel like it just shocked me. I feel like it set me back a couple years.
The Craigslist to find the clown at the birthday party.
But hey, but since we're kind of on that topic a little bit, what scares us, and this is one of the topics on the gym today before we had jujitsu.
Okay.
So it is Friday the 13th right now, guys, right? So happy Friday the 13th.
Oh shoot.
Oh, I'm staying inside today.
UFC 400. Who are you taking? Jason Voorhees or Mike Myers? And not the actor, but I'm saying like, Halloween Mike Myers.
With or without knife? And does Jason have his machete?
Weapons are used here. No, this isn't, Marcel, this isn't grappling. We're not going to the ground here. You know what I'm saying? We're using weapons.
Right.
Everything at our disposal. Magic, whatever you got. We're going Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers.
I appreciate greatly that that's the conversation around the gym while you guys are trying to kill each other. So that's good.
Yeah.
I got you.
I got mine.
You got yours?
Yep.
I'm thinking I got to go Michael Myers because the size, right? The reach.
He's got the size and reach advantage. I'll give him that. I think heart, though, and don't get me wrong, like Michael Myers has heart.
We talking heart.
But, bro, like
Little homie got heart.
Jason overcome being frozen in space. We've seen Jason
fire.
He's been in like 25 fire. We've seen Jason, I think, overcome a lot more than Michael Myers. Not to say, like, listen, Michael Myers got shot in the first or the second one, like what, 20 times, like 50 Cent, walked away from it. So, not saying he doesn't have heart, but bro, Jason's been through the ringer and still shows up. So, my advantage on Jason. Marcel, what do you got?
I think I got to roll with Jason for a couple reasons. Now, my one concern is the fact that he obviously wears a mask. So, the fact that that could come into play, he make a little move and it slips or whatever like that, mask could come off. That could be a problem. But, I mean, you got to go with Buddy with the machete over the kitchen knife. I mean, he's already got, the reach. He's athletic. And I mean, both these guys are big and slow, to be honest with you. But, I mean, you can't miss. First of all, let me tell you something. To wield a machete is a totally different mentality, right? Like, I'm not going to lie, and this is probably more information than people need to know, but I got a field knife and a machete in my truck. And I can tell you like this. Depending on which handle you have, it's a totally different mentality. Like, you got to be a special kind of dude to be able to wield a machete, right? Like a kitchen knife, I'll slide it in and grab me a little, with KitchenAid or whatever. But I think you got to go with Jason, bro. It's got to be Jason.
What two things though, guys, and this is kind of what I got, and this goes to show you, like, you got like world-class athletes getting ready to pound each other to a pulp. And here we go. Here's my argument: are we gonna have Jamie Lee Curtis in the audience? Are we gonna have Jason's mom in the audience? Because I think Jason's mom was way past her prime, right? So if Jason's mom is 6 feet under, rest in peace, but we have Jamie Lee Curtis in the audience. Well, now maybe we're talking about like, hey, Michael Myers goes, hey Dana, if I win, let me holler at Jamie Lee Curtis for the next match. Then now all of a sudden maybe we got something here. So then maybe I lean towards Michael Myers.
That's crazy work.
Nah, fam, it's got to be Jason, bro.
Okay, Jason.
All for it. My man, like you just said, my man's went through fire and ice, and he said y'all still can't touch it. Or space.
Or so dude was breathing in space. It goes, no problem.
I'm telling you, man, not to be trifled with. Can't trifle with Jason. I got to rock with Jason, bro.
I didn't realize that Jason was 6'5". Yeah. He was big.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Bro's a unit. Bro's a unit, dog. And he can still wield a machete, and he's got the hockey mask, so he already got the mentality that IDGAF. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Stamina's probably, it's fair. Like Michael Myers had that killer mentality.
I'm telling
Obviously, pun intended. But dude, like Jason had like that black magic that all of a sudden, like you're around the corner and he just pops up out of nowhere.
I'm not gonna lie, also, unpopular opinion, probably a more terrifying like sound when he's coming.
Yep.
Than Michael Myers.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I know. I see you, Kasey. I know you got the music with your man, but like, what is that, bro? Like somebody rubbing
but then
paper.
You got to ask the question, that Marcel, is he going to telegraph his punches or his cuts then if he's making that sound? Like if I hear that sound, I'm on high alert if I'm Mike Myers.
Austin, bro, if you got a machete, I don't care what you telegraphing. If you got a machete,
good point.
I don't care what you showing me. I'm just looking at the machete, dog.
That's fair.
Good point.
You know what I mean? Like
I'm
if I see somebody
round 2,
if somebody comes at me with like a kitchen knife, I'm gonna have to go.
Taking two, man. Like you know, Mike Myers gonna get back up a couple times, Marcel.
He gets up every time.
Yeah,
it's the staple of his thing. It's the whole bit.
I was gonna say I think we might go to decision because I feel like he might get up every time. He might get up every time.
I mean,
you know, Jason hit him with the machete, and he'd be like, "Hey, man, come on, bro," and just pop up. It's gonna be like the Rocky movies, like a dramatic count, right? He's up at 9.5. He's gonna flip up like the Undertaker and walk up. You know what I mean?
All right.
That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's happening in 2. By the way, did you guys know the original Michael Myers that they cast in the first Halloween was 5'10"?
Can't do that. Can't do that.
Just an average person, huh?
No.
They must have shot the whole movie from the ground.
Oh, come on, man.
Because I feel like he was tall.
For real, bro. He seemed like he was like 7 feet tall. Yeah.
I guess in the other ones, the dude was 6'8". So
yeah,
that sounds about right.
Yeah, no disrespect, you know, but like I ain't running through the woods from nobody that's 5'10".
Not a chance.
With a knife. Come on, man.
Not a chance.
I'm sorry. 5'10's like, bro, you come on, that's cute. Hey, bro, where your parents at,
take
man?
off his mask and give him a wet willy. Like, what are you doing? You're 5'10". Get out of here, bro.
Where your parents,
Knife
bro?
down, you child.
That's crazy. Housekeeping real quick. You're not going to hear from Kayla Ransaw on the show because it's really long, and I had no idea. Check that out on social media. We'll play that for you there. Real quick, though, before we get out of here, to go back to what you said, Marcel, why you got a machete in your truck? Like, what happens in traffic where you're at?
It's actually not because of people. It's just, I'm from the country, man. That's just something. It's honestly something that's just been in there, and it's just never been taken out, truthfully. But also, like the hunting knife that I have in there is not for like violence. It's to cut open like packages and stuff, like boxes or.
Well, damn,
like,
they got box cutters.
No.
Keys work fine. I feel
keys
like.
work.
Have you ever tried to cut a plastic package open with a key?
I mean, it's not ideal, Marcel, but I don't need a machete either.
Hey, look, man, I'm from the country, all right? This is what we do, okay? I don't know what to tell you. Like, I mean, at this point, it's not like it's something I'm not like whipping out like in road rage. Like, if you cut me off on 295, I'm not wheeling the machete out the window. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like that.
Action Sports Jack's Marcel Robinson going to show you where the action is. With
No.
Well, they'd have you as the lead on the news at 5. I tell you what, one of our own.
I report the news. I'm not going to be the news.
That's fair. Have you ever, at any point when you're driving, have you had to reach for the machine? Like,
nope.
Nothing.
Nope.
No animal encounter. All right, good. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. To finish up the show with this, Austen, me and Marcel were talking about Marcel's interested in, after the show, potentially sliding through a donut shop.
Yep.
Let's go.
It's going to happen.
Is there a cutoff for you on when you can get a donut in the day? Because it's 12:56. It will be well after 1 when Marcel slides out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay to go get a donut at 1 p.m.?
So here's the wild thing. If it's Monday through Thursday, I might have something to say about it. If we're going into the weekend, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, treat yourself. At any time of the day, treat yourself. Like, I'll be honest, when it's like, it's on Sunday, usually I do like waffles, but if I don't do waffles and I'm fasting, I'll go to like Shipley Donuts or like, I mean, I don't give a lot of, publicity, but like I'll go to a donut shop at like 1 o'clock and get like, they're a little stale and everything, but hey, I'm still getting a donut at 1 o'clock. Don't matter.
See? Casey?
Stale. He did say it. He did work that in. Marcel's worried about that.
Microwave though, you'll be all right.
The microwave? Now you're doing too much. Microwaving donuts. What are you talking about?
I mean, it is good.
You mean to tell me you're not going to put a stale, crispy donut in a microwave to soften that bad boy up a little bit? Then you're not taking donuts seriously, and that's on you.
I'm not opposed to putting donuts in a microwave, but I don't want to like go to get the donut with the expectation and the understanding that I'm gonna eat this like on the way back, and then I got to go pick it up, and I got to wait to get to an establishment with a microwave. That's just not a commitment I'm willing to make.
Marcel, this is a process, my friend. Like, you got to keep in mind, because it's not just gonna be one donut. For me, I'm doing like 3 or 4 donuts. All right, This is a cheat weekend. So if I'm doing 4 donuts, and I know after those said 4 donuts, I'm gonna be feeling like crap, you better believe it's gonna be a taste experience. So I gotta at least put them in the oven or a little quicker in the microwave to warm them up a little bit, because it's gonna be gooey, it's gonna be delicious, and then I'll feel like crap after. Phrasing.
That's wild.
That's crazy work.
Crazy.
That's crazy work.
Crazy.
30 seconds of the show. Marcel, also not really a fan of Dunkin' Donuts. Nick, in the daytime, who we had, I used to bring in donuts on Saturdays when me and Nick did the Saturday morning show that was long-lived and truly a fantastic program.
Okay.
But he was strong against Dunkin' Donuts. Austin, are you? Do you have an opinion? Is that a spot you would
think
go?
any donut's gonna be good, right? Like you can't mess up donuts. So even like any donut's gonna be good. But like in terms of the tiers, no, we're talking about like the Tennessee Titans of donuts right there is Dunkin'. Like I'm gonna sleep on it.
No disrespect to them, just mom and pop donuts are always the best. I'm just saying.
Yeah, man,
That's it.
made with
That's
love.
all.
You know what I'm saying? That's the key ingredient.
Mhm.
The Dunkin' Donuts, they just go to a formula, they hit a button, and there's your donuts.
I don't want no smoke from Dunkin'. Don't pull up on me.
Nah.
I'm just saying the mom donut shop is the best donuts I've ever had in my life. Best ever. Best in town.
There we go. That'll do it for a week. Marcel, I'm sorry I screwed up your haircut. Austin, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you, fellas. And one last reminder, coming up on the network on Saturday, 2 p.m., the Old School Kingfish Shootout, 7 o'clock, the Armada. We'll talk to you next week. Have a good weekend, everybody.